Subcommittee will come to order. I'll welcome all our members, and I want to especially welcome Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano. I'd also like to thank the chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, my colleague Darren LeHood, and the ranking member of our two subcommittees, Mr. John Larson and Mr. Danny Davis, as well as our full committee chairman, Jason Smith, and Mr. Neal, our full committee ranking member. Today marks a first both for me and the commissioner, as he was recently confirmed and is making his first appearance in the committee room. Today's my first hearing as chair of the Social Security Subcommittee. However, neither of us is new or naive about the successes and challenges of the Social Security Administration faces, and I want to make sure that as we talk through what we do moving forward, that we address all of these issues. I look forward to working closely with the commissioner to improve customer service, root out waste, fraud, and abuse, and strengthen the program for current, near, and future beneficiaries. Today, it seems like a lot of politicians look for viral moments and quick sound bites to appeal to their bases, and this can be particularly true when it comes to talking about Social Security, which can easily be demagogued for cheap political gains. However, I think it's safe to say that every member on this dais, whether Republican or Democrat, is concerned about this important program and wants to make sure that it remains available for those hardworking Americans and their families who have earned a right to its benefits. My Republican colleagues and I, along with President Trump, are committed to protecting Social Security and providing economic security to current and future beneficiaries. But in order to keep our commitments to our seniors, disabled workers, and their families, we need to have an honest dialogue with both the American people and amongst ourselves. Last week's trustees report reaffirmed what we've known for some time now. Without congressional action, Social Security's retirement trust fund will be exhausted in just over 7 years, which would result in the equivalent of a 23% across-the-board benefit cut. These programs are too important to demagogue. As the chairman of the Social Security Subcommittee, I will commit to maintain an honest dialogue about these vital programs, and I invite all of my colleagues to do the same. Keeping our commitments includes ensuring that Americans have reliable access to the services provided by the Social Security Administration, which brings us to the topic of today's hearing on improving and modernizing the Social Security Administration, and why I'm pleased to welcome the recently confirmed Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano. I've been in Congress for 8 years, and I've placed a high priority on constituent services in my home district. The men and women who are constituent services representatives in my office have helped countless Kansans navigate the complexities of the Social Security Administration. And while I'm grateful for their work, it shouldn't take a call from a congressman's office to simply get the benefits someone deserves. Commissioner, it's evident that you and President Trump share my concern. There's still room for improvement, but the average speed of answer on the 800 number hit a high of 42 minutes in November of 2023. It was 16.7 minutes in April of 2025. The average wait time in field offices has decreased by 8 minutes since the start of the fiscal year, and pending disability claims have dropped below 1 million after topping 1.2 million in the summer of 2024. Again, these are improvements, but we can and should do more to make the processes more efficient for beneficiaries. I look forward to a robust discussion today with my colleagues and the Commissioner. I will now yield to the ranking member, Mr. Larson, for his opening statement.
I thank the chairman, and I certainly welcome the commissioner, and I especially thank Commissioner for taking the time to meet with myself and Mr. Neal beforehand. As we discussed in the meeting in my office, again, which I thank you for the courtesy, and noting that you're from a family of 15 and I'm from a family of 8, I know that there's compassion that exists in that heart of yours for the nation's #1 anti-poverty program for the elderly and the #1 anti-poverty program for children until the child tax cut becomes permanent. Democrats have a plan. We've had one for some time. Our focus is twofold. There's an immediate urgency as it deals with DOGE and their access to the public's personal data, their medical data, their financial data, the concerns about their family. We discussed this when you came to my office. Our concerns remain deep and abiding. And as I said, Democrats have a plan. Because of the Supreme Court decision, it looks like legislation is required. Though the commissioner could deny them access to these, as Peter Finley-Dunn would say, trust everyone, but cut the cards, and legislation is needed so that we can make sure that we protect people's personal data and information that is so vital and important to them. Our overarching plan is to recognize, and we discussed this, that Social Security hasn't been enhanced in over 50 years. Pretty astounding when you think of it, but imagine Richard Nixon was President of the United States the last time there was an overall enhancement of Social Security. And when you couple that with unqualified, unvetted, unapproved 24-year-old doges who have unfettered access to people's records at Social Security, it creates an alarm. When I do district hearings or travel around the country, people are outraged by that. That's why we have a bill to stop it. We hope to get a hearing on it, Mr. Chairman, and a vote. And of course, I will ask for your support, Commissioner. I also think that it's become blatantly obvious to the American people that we are in the midst of and appearing right before our eyes the privatization of Social Security. We have put forward a plan. The plan is very specific and direct. We see no plan. We've had no hearing from our colleagues on the other side. 5 million Americans get below poverty level checks. 70 million Americans rely on Social Security. For 40% of all Americans, this is the only thing, the only pension benefit that they'll have. And we have done nothing? That is shameful. And I think everybody, as the chairman pointed out on this dais, agrees with that. And action needs to be taken. A vote needs to be taken. And most importantly, the constituents that were sworn to serve need relief. This is not the first time that there's been an attempt to privatize Social Security. It was done by Reagan, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., and now Trump. And when you're closing regional offices, when you're shutting down phone services, this is a prelude to what's happening to dismantle Social Security from within. Take away from the brand of an agency that operates the largest insurance program with under 1% administrative costs and serves more than 70 million Americans. I see I'm being gavelled because you can't get all of this in within 5 minutes, and it's why we need hearings. And what a joke that we can't speak more than 5 minutes, Mr. Chairman, on an issue as important as this is.
Thank you for your comments. Your time's expired, and before I pass a call on the next speaker, I just want to remind everybody that effective the start of this year, Congress has put in effect the Social Security Fairness Act, which actually increased benefits for WEP and GPO recipients. So I know there's some benefits increase that a lot of people, including people in my district, that were benefited from.
Will the gentleman yield?
Thank you, Mr. Larson. I want to go through opening statements, please.
Was it paid for?
I'd now recognize the chairman from Illinois, Work and Welfare Subcommittee Chair, LeHood, for his opening statement.
Well, thank you, Chairman Estes, for having this hearing today. And Commissioner, welcome. Congratulations on your Senate confirmation and thank you for your service before taking this position, particularly in the private sector, and the work that you've done on efficiency and effectiveness and making entities that you've been a part of accountable. Those skills and your background and experience is going to be tremendously beneficial to the Social Security Administration and to the country, so we thank you. And I look forward to hearing from you on your plans for refocusing the Social Security Administration on its customer service mission. It is critical that we work together to ensure young people, seniors, disabled individuals, and their families that depend on your agency get the services they need in a timely and accurate manner. Under the Biden administration's mismanagement, the Social Security Administration hit record high wait times for both phones and initial Social Security and supplemental security income disability decisions. In addition, Biden's executive overreach went to a level we haven't seen before, with the agency publishing 4 rules making changes to SSI eligibility, estimated to cost taxpayers $40 billion, all without congressional approval. As chairman of the Work and Welfare Subcommittee, I have a particular interest in your plans that would potentially impact the SSI program and the individuals it serves. Although disability insurance and SSI are designed to support individuals who cannot perform substantial work due to their disabling medical condition, the 2 programs allow individuals to work and earn within certain limits. Certainly, for those who have a disability or condition that improves over time, we should not be putting barriers in the way of them returning to work. Both DI and SSI include complex incentives intended to encourage individuals to return to work, to earn wages, and cease receiving government benefits. But all the evidence suggests they aren't effective or currently working. For example, the Ticket to Work program established in 1999 allows eligible DI and SSI beneficiaries to voluntarily obtain free employment services or other support services from approved providers to achieve specific work goals. However, the most recent data showed of the nearly 12.3 million eligible beneficiaries in 2023, only 311,000, or 2.5%, were participating in the Ticket to Work program. Evaluations of the program found participants are only slightly more likely to find employment, and program costs exceeded the savings in disability benefits to the SSA. One of the principles we've established at the Work and Welfare Subcommittee is to promote the dignity of work for everyone. All of our government programs need to be oriented to provide every opportunity for individuals to reach their full capacity. I hope that we can work together and with you to find ways to improve outcomes for disabled individuals receiving SSI who want to maintain or renew a connection to work by identifying government-imposed barriers. Specifically, I am interested in modernizing the Ticket to Work program and other outdated return-to-work demonstrations at the SSA. A second topic I want to bring up is related to the Child Welfare Program. Earlier this month, the subcommittee had a hearing on ways to support older youth who are transitioning out of foster care into adulthood. Approximately 27,000 children in foster care receive SSI or survivor benefits with an average benefit amount of $800 to $1,100 per month. These are some of the most vulnerable children in our country, and SSA benefits are a critical lifeline for them. State child welfare agencies act as a representative payees on behalf of youth in foster care, and there have been questions about how funds are used, as well as the ability to track foster children moving from placement to placement. In 2018, Congress passed a bipartisan law that established SSA that required SSA to establish data exchanges with state child welfare agencies to improve accountability. However, a subsequent GAO report found some states face challenges implementing or maintaining data exchanges, and not all states were participating. Last October, I sent a letter to GAO with Ranking Member Davis requesting an update on how many states are participating in data exchanges and how the SSA monitors representative payees. I look forward to working with you and your team to ensure those data exchanges are up and running and to ensure we bring transparency to this issue. Again, Commissioner, thank you for stepping up to take on this job. We're eager to work with you as a new pair of eyes to get the SSA back on track and I look forward to your testimony, and I yield back.
Thank you, Chairman LeHood. I now recognize the gentleman for Illinois Work and Welfare Subcommittee Ranking Member Davis for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and congratulations, Commissioner. It's a pleasure to have you with us today, and I look forward to working closely with you. I thank you for being here. The benefits overseen by the Social Security Administration are life-giving for millions of seniors, children, and people with disabilities and serious illnesses. Social Security provides dignity and independence for seniors. It provides a future for children whose parents die young, and basic essentials for people who can't work anymore because of illnesses or disability. Your position comes with a profound responsibility to serve every American and do no harm. And Social Security's partner, Supplemental Security Income, or SSI, works with Social Security to bolster income for our poor seniors, help families care for children with serious illnesses like sickle cell disease, and provides for adults who can't work because of severe illnesses and intellectual or physical disabilities. In my congressional district, more than 1/4 of Social Security recipients have their benefits supplemented by SSI, and nearly 10,000 children rely on Social Security or SSI. Despite the essential role that Social Security plays in protecting Americans, Republicans have repeatedly tried to cut Social Security benefits, raise the retirement age, rip benefits away from sick and disabled children, and privatize Social Security, all steps to undermine beneficiaries' well-being. It has been my honor to fight to protect Social Security benefits for my constituents and to join with my Democratic colleagues to defend them for every American. President Trump promised Americans that he would not cut Social Security, but one of his first acts was to allow inexperienced and aggressive Doge staffers to hack into SSA's most confidential beneficiary data, cut thousands of experienced staff, and disrupt customer service so much that seniors and those close to retirement age are justifiably worried that they will not receive the benefits they've worked for all their lives. I strongly support your stated goal to restore SSA customer service while also preventing fraud and errors. And I want to give you some advice. Learn from Doge's mistakes. First, take the time to ask questions and listen to the answers. You're not necessarily the expert on Social Security yet. One of the best fraud prevention tools you have is a skilled workforce. Firing experienced staff means no one is there to manage the contractors, spot fraud, and prevent errors. I was shocked that the budget proposal only sought increases in technology rather than recognizing the importance of your staff at the height of baby boomer requirements. Second, technology is a tool, not a magic wand. If staff are not trained to use it, if beneficiaries can't access it or don't understand it, if the agency computers won't run it, technology will not improve service, fight fraud, strengthen the SA workforce, or modernize SSA. Elevating technology as an elixir reminds me of the H.L. Mencken quote, "There's always a solution to every problem, neat, plausible, and wrong." Further forcing seniors or people who are sick, struggling, or dealing with physical and mental impairments to navigate an obstacle course of complicated rules and technology without help is a cruel backdoor benefit cut. Commissioner, you've been entrusted with one of the crown jewels of the federal government that protects tens of millions of Americans. I hope and I know that we can work together to keep it strong for current beneficiaries and future generations. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I yield back.
Thank you, Ranking Member Davis. I now recognize the Chairman of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Smith, for his opening statement.
Thank you, Chairman Estes. It's a great ring there. Pleased to have you as our new Social Security Chairman. Your leadership has proven in this committee that we can accomplish some great things, and I think you're going to do it in Social Security. I want to thank Chairman Estes and Chairman LeHood for hosting this joint subcommittee hearing, and I want to thank you, Commissioner, for appearing before us today. We already are seeing improvements at the Social Security Administration under President Trump, compared to how little Democrat leadership accomplished at the agency in the prior administration. Under the Biden administration, the SSA hit record high wait times for both phone service and initial disability determinations. But under the Trump administration, phone wait times are improving, and the initial disability backlog has less than 1 million pending claims for the first time since 2023. That's because Republicans are focusing on direct frontline service delivery. Now the SSA is serving more Americans better and with fewer employees, processing faster than the prior administration with less employees. Imagine that efficiency. And they have done it by stopping wasteful spending and redirecting resources and personnel from administrative headquarters and instead out to operations in the field in order to better service beneficiaries directly. Democrats were in deep denial over how their policies led to terrible price increases that deeply hurt Americans, especially seniors. They said it was transitory. They said it was the war in Ukraine. They said it was price gouging. It was the fault of everyone but the Democrats in power. And so their denial even resulted in claiming credit for an automatic cost of living adjustment. But that adjustment wound up pushing seniors into higher tax brackets, resulting in having to pay taxes on benefits they'd never had to pay before. So once again, Republicans are cleaning up that mess. President Trump promised tax relief for seniors, and under the One Big Beautiful Bill, Republicans deliver. In fact, we go further than many Americans expected by offsetting the tax liability of seniors with an additional $4,000 guaranteed deduction for Americans over the age of 65, for an even wider range of income without even limiting it to Social Security. Democrats are going to use this hearing for political theater, the way they always do when Social Security comes up. Lately, they've taken swipes at DOGE and common sense steps to reduce waste, to streamline and automate processes, and combat fraud under the new administration. Why would anyone object to these changes? As a result of these common sense steps, the SSA is already doing better than under Biden and leveraging automation to process cases faster and more reliably. Just as the millions of seniors who had been affected by the WEP and GPO and who are now receiving increased payments as a result of the SSA's use of automation to implement the Social Security Fairness Act instead of processing each case manually. That hasn't discouraged Democrats from spreading disinformation. Despite Democrats' claims, DOGE hasn't had improper access to sensitive senior information. Just ask the Supreme Court, who affirmed the SSA DOGE team's ability to carry out its work of improving the SSA systems. I wish they would instead work with Republicans to find real solutions that will deliver for the seniors who suffered so terribly under their one-party control of Washington. I wish they would vote to provide tax relief for seniors, but so far they have refused to do so. Republicans will continue to fight for our seniors all the same. I yield back.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. And now I recognize Ranking Member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Neal, for his opening statement.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And I want to welcome the Commissioner here. We had a good meeting, I thought. The conversation was free and flowing. But I want to remind all on the 90th anniversary of Social Security that Social Security remains a promise. It's an essential commitment to the American people, earned with every paycheck and promised to those who work hard and play by the rules. The cruelty of what was done by DOGE to long-term 30 and 40-year employees of Social Security, the uncertainty that was inflicted upon their lives after having done their jobs with great duty and loyalty, was uncalled for. The chaos that came of it caused many people to begin to draw down the benefit at 62 because they were afraid once again that it was going to go away. Social Security is at an inflection point. It certainly is being challenged as experienced staff were being forced out, closing essential offices around the country. And then when you look at the evidence as to how this was done, after the harm that was done to individuals and then backing away and making so few changes because they saw the efficiency and effectiveness of Social Security and its promise. Unelected individuals, unqualified individuals, given free rein to rifle through the sensitive personal information of millions of current and future Social Security beneficiaries. Let me correct the record on one very important point. Social Security is not going to see the trust fund exhausted in 7 years. It will still pay 80% of benefits as currently constructed, which is now the obligation of this Congress to fix the program, as we all know in the end we're going to try to do. Rather than suggesting that people should be fearful that their Social Security benefit was going to be compromised. 62-year-olds have begun to draw the benefit for simple reasons, just as they did at the pandemic. When the pandemic settled in, people came to believe that they might not go back to work again after having been laid off, and they began to draw down the benefit. So Social Security, as I said, will pay 80% of benefits. That is a promise that the actuaries of Social Security have signed on to. Social Security continues to work for the American people. Even with an increase in the number of people claiming their benefits and fewer experienced staffers to assist, we're hearing stories of drop calls, longer hold times, and other delays, and the risk of later even missed payments will increase. The real answer for this chaos is clear, and the goal should not be privatization of the Social Security Trust Fund, as President George W. Bush tried to implement, and the chairman of this committee at that time was ready to go along with until we stopped it. Can we all agree in this room today? There is nobody 150 years old receiving a Social Security check. Let me qualify that. There's nobody 120 years old receiving one either. That's an important consideration. And can we further that by suggesting today, I hope there isn't anybody on this dais who would suggest that Social Security is a Ponzi scheme. It is an earned benefit promised to American workers. But it's the same old story. Let's question the effectiveness of Social Security so we might make dramatic changes to it. The old rinse and repeat of the same game plan. Launch an attack, make the system less effective, more difficult to navigate, and then try to turn it over to Wall Street? Can you imagine if that had been successful, turning the trust fund over to Wall Street in 2008, where we'd be today? But you got an enormous responsibility, Commissioner. And we want you, along with all of us, to understand just how vital this program is for the American people. We cannot rubber stamp the proposals that are being suggested by Doge and others, and we can't have 24-year-olds sorting and sifting through Social Security records. Our jobs are to defend and expand Social Security for beneficiaries and generations to come, just as Mr. Roosevelt promised when he suggested Social Security was to guard against, quote, the vicissitudes of life. 90 years old. Happy birthday, Social Security. And with that, let me yield back the balance of my time.
Well, thank you, Mr. Neal. Today's sole witness is Commissioner of Social Security, Frank Bisignano. Thank you for joining us today. Your written statement will be made part of the hearing record, and you have 5 minutes to deliver your oral remarks.
Chairman Smith, Estes, and LeHood, ranking members Neal, Larson, and Davis, and members of the subcommittees. I am Frank Bisignano. It is my honor to serve as the 18th Senate confirmed Commissioner of the Social Security Administration. Thank you for inviting me to speak with you today about my plan to ensure that Social Security provides secure, accurate, and timely service to all Americans. Social Security is a cornerstone of American life. For nearly 90 years, it has protected our families, providing essential income to retirees, people with disabilities, and survivors of loved ones. Over 88% of seniors who are 65 or older receive Social Security benefits, with over $1.5 trillion paid to more than 72 million beneficiaries annually. Social Security must evolve to meet the needs of the 21st century. The agency has faced many challenges in providing service to the American public, including processing backlogs, system outages, and unacceptable phone service. As Commissioner, I am committed to significantly improving service quality and streamlining operations at the agency. My vision for Social Security is clear: putting the customer first. This will be driven by a technology agenda while continuing to meet our customers where they want to be met, whether online, on the phone, or in field offices. This will allow us to deliver at the highest possible level for the American people. Throughout my career, I have led transformational changes in the financial and technology sectors, leading institutions through both good and challenging times. We're in a time of transformation and have begun the journey to achieve a higher level of service and drive innovation. In this case, these transformational changes will be an operational turnaround. I have a great understanding of what it takes: leadership, urgency, and attention to every detail. I will ensure we bring that same focus and determination to Social Security. Under my leadership, we have begun and will continue to improve customer service, increase employee productivity, fight fraud, waste, and abuse, and optimize and empower our workforce. For years, we have scheduled downtime on our website, which equals 18% of the total hours in a week. That's totally unacceptable for serving the public. That will change in the next 2 months through technology enhancements. We also implemented the Social Security Fairness Act 5 months ahead of schedule. We've processed fundamentally all of these claims. That's the type of performance you should expect from our agency. We are focused on meeting people where they want to be met, offering service how and where they prefer it. Our fiscal 2026 funding request allows us to invest in our technology strategy to provide customers with digital and automated options as they experience regularly in their daily lives. I've heard from some that our performance is not acceptable, and we need to hire more staff to improve. I do agree. we must perform significantly better. But increased staffing is not the long-term solution. Case in point, despite lower staffing levels, during May and June, we outperformed January in all aspects. I know how hard federal employees work and how dedicated they are to serving the American people. My own father was a career Treasury employee, and he was the hardest working person I've ever known. Our staff touches the lives of most Americans, and we want our employees to be highly engaged and have the best set of tools available. It is my personal goal to have a highly motivated workforce and change the last 3 years of rankings, which puts Social Security last in employee engagement among the 18 largest federal agencies. In conclusion, I am truly grateful for the opportunity to serve and lead the hardworking men and women of the Social Security Administration. I am committed to delivering the best outcomes for our beneficiaries and their families. We will transform the agency into a model of operational excellence and uphold President Trump's promise to protect and strengthen Social Security. I understand America is counting on us, and I am committed to building a Social Security Administration that delivers, that listens, and that is ready for the future. Thank you again for holding this hearing. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you for your testimony. We'll now proceed to the question and answer session, and I'll start with myself. Commissioner Bisignano, Social Security is entrusted with some of the most personal data of virtually every American. There's been a lot of reporting and speculation about inappropriate access of personal data by DOJ and others, which have caused my constituents concerned about whether their personal data is being protected at the Social Security Administration. What can you tell me about the protections that are in place at the SSA, and what can you tell my constituents about how you're handling that data that they have entrusted to you as head of the SSA? Is their data safe?
Our data is safe. Social Security has always had a high level of security over PII, and I've overviewed it. I'd like to say I spent my career protecting PII in the largest financial institutions. And so we have very strong protocols on access to it and very tight security around it. I feel very, very comfortable that our PII is protected well.
Well, thank you very much, because people are concerned about their personal identification and personal identified information, or PII, and appreciate your response and oversight for that. Since the start of the administration, there have been reports of field office closures and other unverifiable claims that the SSA is purposely closing offices customers need to be able to access. Can you set the record straight today? Have any field offices closed since the beginning of the Trump administration?
I think factually, there was one field office that was moved because of problem with a landlord, and there were 21 conference hearing rooms that were handed back to GSA because we do virtual conferences in our disability hearings, and they hadn't been used in 2 years. There were not field office closures. There were no, and field offices will remain forever. It's a way many people want to come see us, and we're going to be there. You know, not everybody has broadband. Not everybody has the technology required, although, you know, over 90% of our constituents, it appears, does. But field offices will be here forever.
Great, thank you for that. The SSA Office of the Inspector General recently completed an audit of the failed Next Generation Telephony Project, or NGTP, where they found that the SSA spent more than $160 million to build a new phone system that was only used for 10 months before being abandoned. Not only did that failed investment lead to a waste of tens of millions of dollars from the taxpayers, but it also resulted in worse service than the old system it was intended to replace when it was in use. What lessons has SSA learned from this failed contract?
Well, once a week, I meet and our chief financial officer and a couple other members, our head of budget, on any procurement that we're going to make for more than $250,000. And a lot of times those people have to go back because they haven't been thought through well enough. We're building a discipline in the agency of every dollar matters. And a contract of that size and scale should never have that problem because it needs to be owned at the top. And we're trying to set a tone at the top about we're going to pay attention to every detail, we're going to get it right, and we're going to deliver in every aspect of the business, sir.
Well, thank you. Yeah, as you pointed out, good contract management, good vendor management is so important in having successful contracts and arrangements. I just want to highlight that this is a Republican and a Democrat bipartisan concern about the topic. So as you continue to work with OIG and Congress to help prevent future contracting mismanagements. And
Yeah. I would say we've also implemented another thing that we've never done before, which is to meet regularly with OIG on their recommendations, reconcile where we are on those recommendations, and making sure that we're in complete agreement. We actually learned in the process of going through all of OIG's that in their last report, there's probably 100 items that we're still going back and forth on. So having a good relationship with the IG is very important, and us working hand in hand, and those things have never been done before.
well, great, thank you. Before I recognize Mr. Neal for his questions, I want to provide another example of how your emphasis on expanding online service and providing common sense solution is resulting in real improvements to service. Without objection, I'd like to enter into the record a letter from the National Organization of Social Security Claimants Representatives that recounts how a new online secure portal that provides claimants and their representatives with basic data on the status of their claims, which has likely reduced calls from claimant representatives to the SSA by more than 30,000 per month. That's 30,000 more calls from our constituents that can now be answered because of this solution. Without objection, I'll enter this into the record. And now I'd like to recognize the ranking member of the Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Neal, for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for doing that. Commissioner, the wealthiest man in the world has called Social Security a Ponzi scheme. Do you agree with that assessment?
I think you said it was a promise to pay. I think I heard you say that earlier, sir. I agree it's a promise to pay.
Thank you. Let me also turn my focus to DOGE again for a moment. Some of those at DOGE have said that there are those who are 120 years old receiving Social Security checks. Do you know of anybody 120 years old that has received a Social Security check?
What I do know is that we had people who had passed away still active on our file. And I think that represents the opportunity for problem and error. Right. And I think that, having people on the file can cause, it's like leaving your door open, right? We don't leave our door open at night. Maybe just because I grew up in Brooklyn, we don't leave our door open. Where's Nikki? I don't want to insult her at all. But she's on Staten Island, though. I'm allowed to joke around here, aren't I?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, sir. So I think that's a real issue.
Okay.
That's a real issue, sir.
But that's different than suggesting that there's somebody 120 years old receiving a Social Security check, isn't it?
I made my statement, sir, that, there were millions of people on the file that had passed and their number was still alive.
Commissioner, an earlier statement by a member on the committee said that the Democrats were going to try to politicize the issue. What's more politicizing than suggesting there's somebody 120 years old getting a Social Security check? When it's not true, there's nothing to it. There's no evidence that supports it. The efficiency of Social Security The error ratio of Social Security ought to be one that is acknowledged. It ought to be a model for other federal initiatives. The loyalty that the employees feel to making sure that our seniors are able to receive an earned benefit which they paid into all their lives should be a very important part of the discussion. Could I ask you as well, Commissioner, how many staffers from DOGE are currently working at Social Security?
First, I'd like to react to, how fundamentally a hair less than 1% error rate, and I hear us talk about it's one, that's too high an error rate, sir.
Yeah, granted.
It's too high an error rate. And then secondarily, we would never compare, and we should never compare the amount of payout to the expense of the department. That's not a relevant measure by
Commissioner-
any means. So I just want to be
That's
clear
fine.
about that.
I understand that. But Commissioner, again, then we go back to the argument that was heard on the House floor during the State of the Union address that there were 150-year-olds receiving Social Security checks. And then it was brought down to 120-year-olds receiving Social Security checks. My argument is that overwhelmingly, this is one of the most well-supported initiatives that the American people have come to rely upon and depend upon. So could we go back to the question of how many DOGE staffers are working currently at your office?
I treat everybody like they work in SSA, in all honesty. I run the administration here, and I have complete oversight. We have 7,000 contractors that do not work for SSA in the organization working, and I actually have
Could we get an idea of how many DOGE employees are on the payroll?
I don't think of people as DOGE employees, but if you're saying how many, it's probably about 3 or 4.
3 or 4.
But there's no such thing as DOGE employees.
Okay, do they have access to any of this sensitive, critical information
No, sir.
that they might be able to retrieve?
No, sir.
Let me ask the last question here, and that is, the meeting that you and I had, I thought went really well.
Me too.
And we are committed on this side of the aisle to defending and increasing Social Security benefits as the years go forward. People are going to live longer, and they're going to need enhanced benefits as we proceed. And part of it is going to come from the discussions that we're going to have here, and we all know in the end what part of the solution is going to be on this committee. So I thank you, Commissioner. I yield back my time, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And now I'd like to call on Chairman of Ways and Means Committee, Mr. Smith, for questions.
Thank you, Chairman. The SSA is way behind private industry in modernizing its online services. And I'm glad to hear that you intend to expand and improve the online services that the SSA will offer. However, for many, including those from rural areas, phone and in-person services remain vital lifelines. Commissioner, what will you do to ensure that seniors and other individuals from rural parts of the country, many of whom lack access to fast, reliable, or secure internet access, are not left behind when the SSA modernizes?
Well, I think, I believe in omni-channel. An omni-channel in this case is physical, the field office, the phone, and the web. And we have to have all three. And I think, the field office is mission critical for some number of people to come in and do their transactions. And our intent is that that field office will remain and will be there servicing the public as it does today. I think we can bring better tools. I've been to seven. I try to get out a couple times a week to where the work actually occurs, and I've probably been to 7 different sites in my month and change here. And what's very clear to me is even the people in the field office can have a much better experience by us bringing better technology to our field office reps to help them, to be able to accumulate data, bring it together, and use a little intelligence behind it to make it easier for our people. Our people have to go to multiple systems. I think our wait times on average are good in the field offices. I think we could even be better.
Last Congress, we enacted the Social Security Fairness Act that repealed Social Security's windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset. Ensuring America's seniors receive the benefits they are owed is dependent on implementing this law as quickly and orderly as possible. I'm encouraged by the progress your agency has already made in processing retroactive payments to the roughly 3 million affected beneficiaries and updating monthly benefits moving forward. A sharp contrast from the Biden administration's claims that the transition would take upwards of a year. That is what they shared with me. Commissioner, what is the status of that effort, and what percentage of back payments have already been sent now? And what, if any, further guidance or collaboration do you need from this committee to ensure the proper and swift implementation of this law?
Yeah, as of this morning, this is a number I track every day. I track a lot of numbers every day. We've done 99.9%. We have 3,100 more payments to get out the door. That's it, 3,100. I thought it was very important to demonstrate that we can act with urgency. We did this without delaying any other work in the agency. We got together, we talked about it. It was multiple meetings. We applied technology to move it forward in a manner better than we thought. And I think it's what you should expect from us. I think what you should expect from us. And, by 6:30, it's completely done. And that was the target that we set, at the beginning of June when we thought it was going to take us out to 11/1. I believe in Parkinson's law, work expands to a day. And, we do have a lot of good people who will respond to the ask to figure out how to get stuff done better, faster, and cheaper.
Commissioner, you're a breath of fresh air. We're thankful that you're in the position that you're in, and I look forward to continuing to work with you to better serve this country. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Smith. I now recognize Ranking Member Larson for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again, Commissioner. And,
Thank you.
Like Mr. Neal, I thought we had a good meeting, and again, I thank you for the courtesy that you extended. You're in stark contrast to, well, we had to issue an inquiry to have Elon Musk appear before us, but he never did. And ultimately, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle voted against having any such further inquiries made. And of course, it was Elon Musk that hires Doge, and everyone wonders why there are questions. Do you think Doge should come before this committee and explain what they're doing, Mr. Commissioner?
I'm here before you explaining what I'm doing, and
I'm
I'll answer
asking
any
you
question.
about Doge. Should they come?
I don't really think that's my job. I mean, if I look at my job
Okay, so
description, it's not to
that's
tell
a
you
no.
who to have
That's
in front of your committees
I
there.
understand. I understand. That's it stands in stark contrast. And we talk about, as Peter Finley Dunn would say, trust everyone, but cut the cards. And we need to make sure that we have hearings and people come before us and are able to answer questions. This is
I'm
the
happy
first
to
one.
show up whenever
This
you
is the
want, sir.
first one that we've had, and a lot has transpired. Congratulations on the things that you're doing. And as a matter of fact, Commissioner O'Malley was doing a lot of them, and some would argue that, the metrics were taken down. I don't know the reason why they were taken down, but some say it's because
Well, the metrics
some of the
were
stuff is
changed. The
being
metrics-
cherry-picked. But
Well,
shouldn't there be
are you
a
asking a
hearing?
question?
Should there be a hearing where both people get to decide? Or there's questions that can be asked of both?
Listen, we had 1.2 million.
Listen, you're a decent person and
Yeah.
a bright and intelligent, caring person. And but I say that only because of the points that are being made up here in terms of sparring and going back and forth. At the end of the day, here's my concern. It's great that we're making technological advances. It's great that we have an unbelievable opportunity with artificial intelligence. But at the end of the day, it's not about algorithms, it's about people. And nowhere are we answering the fact that 5 million fellow Americans get below poverty level checks after having paid into the system all their life. Is that fair, Commissioner? Should they?
I don't think anybody should figure out how to singly solve every problem. This is a group, right? And to solve the problems, we're all going to have to want to solve them
What about the
together.
40% of all Americans who this is the only benefit that they have? And it hasn't been adjusted in over 40 years. I don't know how people look themselves in the mirror and say, this is okay. And I'm not saying you, because that isn't your responsibility. It's Congress's responsibility. I was just asking you if you concur that Congress should take action, because it is truly un-American that we would see 5 million of our fellow citizens in this day and age get below poverty level checks from the federal government, from the wealthiest nation in the world, the most powerful nation in the world. And this Congress can't take care of these individuals? That is an outrage and a shame. Do you consider Social Security an entitlement?
Social Security is an earned benefit.
Thank you. And that's what President Trump said, too, by the way. He stood out amongst all other Republican candidates back when he first won election for president, saying it was not an entitlement, it was an earned benefit. Absolutely right. The people have paid into, and they deserve. You got 10,000 baby boomers a day that become eligible for Social Security, and yet Congress has not adjusted. Now, they said, well, we did weapon GPO. That was a great thing from a policy standpoint. Was it paid for? No, it was not. We got a lot of work to do on this committee, and it starts with having hearings so that we can get it. Thank you. I believe you're a man of integrity. I look forward to working with you.
I look forward to working with you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. One of the things I want to just note that, the system's designed as people receive their benefits, that they increase over years as economic growth happens. It's adjusted for wages. It's also adjusted annually for inflation to offset that and to help with that as far as the cost of and economic growth. So now I'd like to recognize Work and Welfare Subcommittee Chairman LeHood for
submit
questions.
these for the record?
Excuse me.
I neglected to, just for the record, we have several pieces of editorial boards, et cetera, studies, et cetera. Without objection, I ask to submit it for the record.
Without objection, so ordered. Thank you. And now I recognize Work and Welfare Subcommittee Chair, Mr. LeHood, for questions.
Thank you, Chairman Estes and Commissioner. As was mentioned in my opening statement, the jurisdiction that we have on the Work and Welfare Subcommittee pertains to a couple different areas that I want to discuss with you today. One is foster care and another is SSI benefits. And in 2023, the Social Security Administration paid nearly $190 million in SSI and SS benefits to children in foster care. And monthly data exchanges are very important to ensure that state child welfare agencies are the appropriate representative payee and ensure accountability on how benefits are managed on behalf of foster youth. Could you provide insights today on any strategies the SSA plans to utilize to ensure all states are participating in these monthly data exchanges and that they can actively do once a data sharing agreement is made?
Yeah, we've been working actively on data exchanges, and I think it's a vital part. Data exchanges go beyond this, but specifically here. And I'm happy to come back to you on more detailed answer. We have some more work to do ourselves, but I'm happy to work with your office on anything that they have that they'd like us to do also there.
Well, I want to raise the importance of those monthly data exchanges. We've had at least one subcommittee hearing on that, and we'd love to work with you and your team on some of the policy initiatives that we believe would be important to fix that. All our government programs, including DI and SSI, need to be better oriented to provide every opportunity for individuals, no matter their disability or their circumstance, to grow their capacity and to be connected to meaningful work. And I talked about this again in my opening statement. In 1999, the Ticket to Work program was created to allow SSI and DI beneficiaries to voluntarily get connected to vocational rehabilitation services and work towards specified employment goals. Despite years of evaluations, GAO found the program was having little to no impact. Commissioner, do you have an update on the status of the Ticket to Work program, and is there something you will work on with the committee to see how we can improve this legislatively or administratively?
We talked about it this week inside SSA. I'm happy to work with, and you have a commitment from us to work on this with you. I think an overriding issue is, which I'm sure you're well aware of, we would like to be able to help as many people as much as possible, get more people to work in things they can, and Ticket to Work hasn't performed as we expected. But I think there's things we could do, and I don't think we should quit on it at all, but we should work together on how to get it right.
Well, we appreciate that. As you're well aware, there's 7 million unfilled jobs in the country today, and excuse me, look forward to working with you on this program. I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Work and Welfare Ranking Member Mr. Davis for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you again, Commissioner. During the last Trump administration, SSA proposed a regulation that would have caused hundreds of thousands of disabled seniors, children, and adults with serious illnesses to lose their benefits because they couldn't keep up with the new paperwork to remain eligible. The regulation was not related to any new law and was eventually withdrawn after widespread concern. If you would answer yes or no, I'd appreciate it. President Trump promised not to cut Social Security during this term. Will you join him in that promise?
100%.
All right, well, thank you. I knew we were getting off to a great start. Also, last year, at the request of many of us on the subcommittee, SSA began an effort to quickly address concerns about a sharp rise in children with sickle cell disease being denied supplemental security benefits that help their families manage. Sickle cell, of course, is a painful and debilitating condition that affects about 1 in every 365 black children, and many of them in my district. After our letter, SSA commissioned a blue ribbon panel of experts at the National Academy of Sciences to study advances in sickle cell treatment and make recommendations about whether SSA needs to update its sickle cell disease regulations. An initial report released this month found that SSA is denying SSI to many individuals with severe disease because the regulation has not kept up with medical science. What are the next steps that SSA have to make sure that sick children with sickle cell are not denied basic necessities?
I apologize that I don't know that issue right this before you brought it up, sir, but it will get my full attention tomorrow,
We would
and I will report back to you.
we certainly appreciate that, and there are actually some other rare, difficult diseases that fit that category. Importantly, after we raised the concerns, SSA moved quickly to produce 3 helpful plain English guides for those with sickle cell to apply in SSI to make sure that eligible individuals are not denied because of process challenges. And would you make those guides available and make sure as you look into the sickle cell issue?
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your responses, and we look forward to working with you.
I look forward to working with you, sir.
Thank you. And now I recognize Mr. Kerry from Ohio for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I want to thank the commissioner for being here today. And for those of you, I know you highlighted on your father's background, but you also talk about how he was an orphaned at a very young age, and your family obviously coming from Italy. But it really, I think it underscores, but also, really underscores just how personal and important Social Security is to you. And it's not just you. It's people all over this country, people all over Ohio. I had grandparents that their sole income was Social Security. Some of these benefits, they change the lives of all Americans. That's why it's so important that SSA continues to ensure that the right person gets the right benefits at the right time. Doing so not only gives Americans certainty, but it helps them ensure the solvency and longevity of the trust fund. Now, last Congress, I had helped craft bipartisan legislation after hearing heartbreaking stories from my constituents about improper payments, situations for no fault of their own, that the errors actually would occur and then they would have to pay back years after they had received that money. Almost a decade ago, Congress gave SSA the authority to implement payroll information exchange to help prevent these kinds of mistakes. And yet, year after year, the beneficiaries continue to suffer. And it's time to fix that, as I know you're aware of. The other thing I wanted to highlight just before we go on, because I do think this was a very important piece of legislation. Last year, I was proud to support, and that it was also signed into law, the Social Security Fairness Act, which eliminated the barriers that prevented civil workers, such as our firefighters, our teachers, our police officers, from receiving their Social Security benefits. I want to thank you and Social Security for the quick implementation of that law, because I continue to hear from Ohioans that they are now receiving those benefits. I had 3 of those individuals in my office today just talking about that. So, quick question, Mr. Commissioner. In your testimony, you mentioned that SSA has scheduled downtime service hours for the website. What is the total predetermined downtime for a system weekly?
As I said, 18%, that would get you to like 29 hours a week. You all, and I'm not saying like there's the answer to everything in life, but there are no other websites in the history of the world that have scheduled downtime of 29 hours. And I've heard from everybody how important this service is. So, as I listen, this was, we used to, we publish our service hours, the hours we are going to serve the public on the web. And we're missing 29 hours a week of serving the public on the web. And so that'll get fixed in the next 2 months. And it's indicative of not accepting the norm. That's been there for years. Why is that okay? And I've never heard anybody ever talk about it. But that's just the scheduled downtime. So I think that's a lot of opportunity lost a lot of opportunity lost to serve the public the way they want to be served. I don't know many websites that schedule 29 hours of downtime.
I mean, in your private sector side, sir, I mean, what would you think the average downtime should be?
0.
Excellent. What changes would you make to improve service and increase accessibility to SSA's online services so that Americans receive the service they deserve?
Well, I think we actually have a really good tool in My SSA, but we need to promote it. And the rewrite of the web is also to make it easier. You know, 1/3 of field office visits are for replacement cards. And they could be done either on the phone or on the web. Now, we know there's some people, as we said before, that don't have broadband, don't have the capability, but this is not 1/3 of the population, right? But 1/3 of the field office visits are for replacement cards. If we need to promote better on the web. We need to explain to people the capabilities that they can do. I don't think most people get up thinking, hey, I want to drive 20 minutes to go get a replacement card if they could avoid it, and they could actually do it on the web. So I think we don't market it well. It's not easy to operate, and then it's down a lot. That will all get fixed. And when I talk about us fixing things, I'm not talking about 3 years from now. I'm talking about this year. You know, and that's really, you know, what we're going to do. You know, our phone.
My time is expired, but I want to thank you for your testimony. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. And now I recognize Ms. Moore from Wisconsin for 5 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Let me join my colleagues in welcoming you to the committee.
Thank you.
We do have a Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee,
I know,
our sports arena.
I know.
So I really admire.
We won the NBA.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I do have some questions regarding your background and the suitability for this particular program. It is really clear that the president's budget, the activities of DOGE, and so forth really rely on AI, which may be your background, and financial processing to substitute, quite frankly, for the human dimension of Social Security determinations and eligibility. And in particular, I read over your testimony, and I saw some of the appendices to your testimony and I just want a little clarification of what you meant there. You talked about AI. Oh, I'm finding the pages now. You talked about it assisting in redeterminations, automated medical acquisitions and processing, AI for drafting medical summaries and dispositions, analytics and disability decision support. And so I was wondering, to the extent that first of all, just let me ask some questions to make sure I'm going in the right direction. Are we relying on AI to help us route out a lot of the waste, fraud, and abuse that you say are in the program?
I think first of all, AI is technology.
Right.
AI is technology.
So, okay.
I like to say, I've been heard to say I was doing AI before it was called AI.
Okay, got it. So,
I treat it like it's
okay,
technology.
so some of these redeterminations of eligibility, is that an effort to use AI to route out waste, fraud, and abuse?
It's an effort to get it right.
Somebody might be like blind for 6 months and then get a redetermination 6 months later to see if they're still blind?
No, I think not. No, I think at a very macro level, what we're talking about is making the things that people can't do routinely without tons of manual labor presented to them in a fashion that
Okay, I get
easier
you.
for
I'm not the
people.
chairman, so I don't get to go on. I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you, but my time is
You're
going
fine.
down.
Just trying to answer your question.
I hear that. I appreciate that. What I'm trying to figure out is that have you all justified the termination of these thousands of experienced Social Security Administration people because, in fact, AI is going to get you 15 minutes extra time or 30 minutes extra time, or are you relying more on that, or are you to what extent are you relying on AI to assist you in eligibility determinations?
I think we're going to use technology across the board to make jobs better for our employees.
No, I'm not
to
talking about
be-
your employees. If I'm 65 years old, for example,
Well, the
and
people
I'm
who
not
work
yet
on the
eligible
people who
for
work
Social
on this,
Security.
ma'am, are our employees, right? They just don't. We don't do these.
I'm
without
talking about
our
as a
people.
customer. If I'm 64 years old and someone has said that you're old enough, I mean, you're not old enough to get Social Security, you can work. Is AI going to help us determine their eligibility? Beyond, if they say my back is so bad.
I don't really understand that example you just gave me.
Well, I'm just going by what you have provided in your, as addenda to your resume. Analytics and disability decision support. AI for drafting medical summaries and dispositions. AI is going to give a summary of the medical reports. They're going to analyze the medical evidence to support disability determination. So if I see the staff is trying to help. So if I'm 64 years old and I have decided that my back, my arterial sclerosis or whatever, arthritis is so bad, is AI going to analyze this and say to someone, well, it's not bad enough?
Every one of the decisions will be made by a human, assisted by AI. Maybe that helps. Okay.
Okay,
This is how
that's
to shorten the. We want to sit here and talk about the length of time.
So what I'm saying is,
excuse me, ma'am.
AI is going to replace. No, it's my time. So
I'm
excuse
sorry?
me. I get to talk.
I'm sorry.
You can't say excuse me and cut me off because I was asking you some questions.
You were asking me
Good
a
faith.
question. I was trying to answer it.
As you can see, my time has expired, and I'm sorry if you felt that I interrupted my time, but that's the way this works. And maybe you'll get a little bit more familiar with how we operate the next time you come before us.
Thank you, and now I recognize Mr. Feenstra from Iowa for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Estes and Chairman LeHood and Ranking Member Davis and Larson. Thank you for putting and holding this joint hearing. Commissioner Bisignano, thank you for being here. I want to just say you are a breath of fresh air, and I truly look forward to working with you. This is probably one of the hottest topics that is not being talked about, literally not being talked about. It's 1/5 of our spending goes to Social Security each and every year. 1/5. That's a lot of dollars. And I just want to talk about something. You're a Social Security trustee, and the trustee's report shows that Social Security, as you know, the program is projected to be in an unpayable full benefits in 8 years, right? It's supposed to have significant problems. And yet, this is the interesting thing about this, the very interesting thing. The CBO doesn't ever tell the public this. The CBO and all its projections shows in perpetuity that it will always have dollars, that everybody will be fine. And so the general public out there is sort of unaware of the cliff that's going to happen in 8 years. And I just want to tell you, I'm soon reintroducing my Save Our Seniors Act that will require the CBO to show both payable and scheduled benefits and what's going to happen in the next 10 years, because no one knows at this point. So this has to happen. And by the way, the National Taxpayers Union said this is the biggest no-brainer bill in Congress right now, and it's got to get done. It's probably one of the most important things. My question to you, Mr. Bisignano, Commissioner, I live in rural America. I live in rural Iowa, and I have most rural area. What specific steps are we taking to ensure that rural Americans, especially seniors and those disabled, can, in a timely manner, access quality services from Social Security, whether it be online, by phone, or in person? How can we continue to create a better, more quality service in the Social Security arena?
Well, I think the things we do and plan on doing, whether it's in the field offices, on the phones, or on the web, I think will benefit rural as much as it will benefit urban. I think the idea that your constituents could do business where they want to do it and how they want to do it is what our objective is. Our phone technology still has a bunch more work to do. But obviously, 42% of the calls are answered instantaneously, and we think that can double. We do think that we got to help our field offices with better automation there also, and the phone systems have been upgraded there. And then, you know, my belief, you heard about the web before, that there's a great opportunity to be able to serve them. So I recognize the challenges of being in rural America. I lived in Kansas for a bit, and so I consider that parts, and I lived in a rural place. And I think an omni-channel experience, whether it's on the phone or on the web or in person, have it all happen in a way that the American public enjoys it is really my objective. Yeah.
Thank you for that, and I look forward to continuing to work with you, especially in rural America, and you just nailed it. I mean, we can continue to provide better service. One other thing that really really gets to me, and it gets to my heart, is foster children and Social Security. The use of Social Security benefits for eligible foster children by state child welfare agencies has garnered a lot of attention from state legislatures and national media. Child welfare agencies often act as the representative payees for children in foster care and use these benefits to meet beneficiaries' current maintenance. I just want you to, I'll mention it, but if you could explore, can we explore ways to improve the awareness among foster youth about Social Security benefits, including examining policies related to state child welfare agencies acting as representative payees? I don't know if you know a lot about that, but I would love it if you could look into that. I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
You have my commitment. I'll spend more time on it, and I'll come back to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Again, these are foster children, and sometimes they're getting really taken advantage of, and we can't have that. So I thank you for taking a look at that. I greatly appreciate it, and with that, I yield back.
Thank you. Now I recognize Ms. Chu from California for 5 minutes.
Commissioner, since the beginning of this administration, more than 7,000 Social Security Administration employees have been fired or forced out. These cuts were done even though SSA was already at a 50-year staffing low, and the result has been disastrous, with countless reports across the country about longer waiting times, backlogs, and delays at SSA. I've heard from constituents in my district who can't get their issues resolved because every time they call, they are put on hold for multiple hours, only for the line to eventually just hang up on them. This means seniors are not receiving their earned retirement benefits on time, and very poor seniors, people with intellectual disabilities, and disabled children are going without their basic necessities because they can't get help applying for SSI, and that amounts to benefit cuts. Democrats have been trying to address this for months. Ranking Member Larson introduced a resolution of inquiry that would have required the administration to hand over documents on worker firings and office closures at SSI. Unfortunately, Republicans on this committee voted unanimously to kill it, and even now Republicans can't even bring themselves to acknowledge the staffing shortage as a problem, let alone recognize that it's the Trump administration that manufactured much of this crisis to begin with. So, Commissioner Bisignano, you testified that you have wanted to improve customer service. You have a long way to go just to undo the damage of the last few months. But unfortunately, it looks like your agency has made it harder for us to even monitor whether the service is improving or getting worse. So, Mr. Chair, I have a record of a report of the Washington Post titled "Social Security Stops Reporting Call Wait Times, and Other Metrics," and it's from Friday, June 20th, and I ask unanimous consent to enter this into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
So, before you arrived, Commissioner Bisignano, SSA regularly shared 34 different customer service metrics with the public, including how long it would take for SSA to answer calls or process benefit applications. But earlier this month, your agency removed most of that information from your webpage. After the Post article was published, SSA only restored one of their 34 data elements, which raises real questions about why the rest of it is still being hidden from the public. I also understand that our Ways and Means staff is still waiting for performance and staffing data that we have requested. It makes me wonder if SSA doesn't want us to know how deep the damage from this administration has been. So I would like to ask a yes or no question. Will you instruct your staff to provide this committee with the performance and staffing data that we requested so we can actually monitor whether things are getting better or worse? And will you commit to restoring all the robust public data to the Social Security Administration's website that SSA previously reported so that taxpayers can know whether you are keeping your promise to provide the customer service they paid for?
Couple items, please. You referred to office closures. And I think I was quite clear earlier about office closures, that in fact there was one office because of a lease issue that was closed.
Well, it's about SSA answering calls.
No,
or
I'm
processing
going through
benefit
everything you said,
applications.
ma'am. I'm answering your question, but I'm also making sure you're clear on the record about office closures. You also refer to that SSA is at a all-time staffing low. It's also at an all-time technological high. And what I mean by, excuse me, what I mean by that is,
Okay, so reclaiming my time, I also want to say that on the technological,
yeah,
now you are changing the answering of these calls to AI, and a reporter said that it took 8 tries to get transferred to an agency, and an AI bot asked one reporter several times to end the call and gave unrelated information about the cost of living adjustment. I urge you to reconsider whether.
by the way,
putting AI robots on
that
the
change
phone.
was put in before I was commissioner, by the way. Okay, that was on 5/1, that changed.
Thank you. Gentlelady's time's expired, and she does control the time as she goes through the process and in terms of the questions asked and responses. So thank you.
We do control the time.
Yep, thank you. And now I call on Mr. Yocum from Indiana for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Bisignano, thanks for being here today. The Biden administration created an appointment-based policy that some field offices seem to be using to turn away customers, even though the policy states that customers are not required to have an appointment. Can you please clarify SSA's policy and tell us what you're doing to ensure walk-ins are not turned away at field offices?
The policy is to serve every American. We encourage an appointment. In fact, we have a schedule that in technology, we're making that a broader, wider schedule. We also take phone calls in the field offices, and we brought a technology system in there for the phones. That'll get finished in August. And then we accept wait-ins, walk-ins. I mean, you know, person drives 20 minutes to come see us. We think we should serve them. And, you know, field offices are integral. That's why, you know, I've been very clear that we can't close any field offices. But I think, you know, our job is to serve the American public.
Thank you. On March 1st, Martin O'Malley, President Biden's Commissioner of Social Security, predicted, and I quote, "Ultimately, you're going to see the system collapse and an interruption of benefits. I believe you will see that within the next 30 to 90 days, end quote. It's been 116 days since he said that. Commissioner Bisignano, has Social Security collapsed?
Well, I thought, you know, as a Senate-confirmed commissioner that, you know, all those people worked for and all the people still work there, that was really not very nice or accurate. And so nice and not nice and inaccurate is not really good. This system will not collapse, I guarantee that.
And what about benefits? Have the benefits been interrupted?
Not once. We actually, if you remember, we took what was told to be a year for the Fairness Act and got it done in less than 6 months.
Is it responsible for Democrats like Martin O'Malley to spread apoplectic conspiracy theories and hyperbolic predictions and really just go out there and scare seniors? Is that responsible?
Well, I'm not I'm not a judge of someone else. I just know that we're going to go do a great job. That's what I know. And
Thank you. Under the Biden administration, call times really shot up significantly. The SSDI claims backlog also skyrocketed. And SSA waited until April 7th of 2022, long after COVID was over, to reopen field offices. Instead of fixing these issues, the Biden administration focused on infusing SSA with woke ideology. It implemented mandatory agency-wide implicit bias training, which studies have long showed don't work and can even sometimes make things worse. Under your leadership, does SSA still force employees to complete implicit bias training?
no, sir.
Thank you. It also implemented additional DEI training, which again, studies show don't work, for executives, managers, and supervisors, as well as claims adjudicators. Under your leadership, does SSA still force supervisors and adjudicators to complete DEI training?
No, sir.
The Biden administration also promised to, quote, increase workforce diversity through improved recruitment, hiring, and retention. Under your leadership, is SSA making hiring and promotion decisions based on DEI qualifications?
No, sir.
Thank you, Commissioner, for being here today. And let me just add this. From the perspective of my constituents who are on Social Security, what they care about most is customer service, being able to walk in, get an appointment, being able to call someone, have them answer the phone, and making sure that their benefits are uninterrupted, which I know you stated today that you're committed to ensuring that all those things happen. I think those things are critically important. They don't care who's answering the phone or who's providing the customer service. They just care that their needs are met. That's what's most important, just from a practical, common sense approach. And thanks again for being here today and for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you. And now I recognize Mr. Horsford from Nevada for 5 minutes.
Thank you to Chairs Estes and LeHood and our ranking members Larson and Davis. I'm pleased that we are having this hearing, although I wish we could have done it as a full committee. Thank you, Commissioner, for appearing before us. And I just want to get straight to my questions because I have been waiting to get some responses. As my colleagues have stated, local field offices are a lifeline to our constituents. Seniors, people with disabilities, widows, widowers, and when someone needs help applying for benefits, correcting an issue with their payments, or navigating a complex system, they turn to these offices for in-person trained support. Unfortunately, the Trump-Vance administration's shifting stance on shutting down field offices is deeply alarming. But even more troubling is the confusion that it's already caused. First, DOJ released one list of office closures, then the General Service Administration released another, and now the Social Security Administration has its own third list. This just creates chaos, and I don't understand why. In my district, both in my district office as well here in our DC office, we're flooded with panic calls when DOJ announced the closure of a local Social Security office on 701 Bridger Avenue in Las Vegas, Nevada. Even after your agency backtracked on DOJ's wishes, the fear has not gone away. My constituents, are still afraid that they will lose access to the help that they need. In Nevada alone, 1 in 4 seniors, that's 139,000 people, live nearly an hour away from the nearest office. So, Commissioner, since my constituents are incredibly afraid that the Trump-Vance administration may very well shut down their local Social Security field office, I want to cut through the noise and get a clear answer for them. Do you plan to close any Social Security field office, yes or no?
No.
Do you commit right here, right now, to keep all Social Security field offices open, not only in my congressional district, but in every congressional district across the country? Yes or no?
I've committed before, and I'll commit again, that if for
Yes or no?
if for some reason there is
Yes
an
or
off-
no?
We might wake up one day and a field office doesn't have any traffic.
Will you, so the
what
problem,
if
so
you
the- no,
let
no,
me-
reclaiming my time. The problem with your failure to respond to my question and answer it with a yes or no response indicates your willingness to not ensure that these services are available. And the closure of that office, or the threatened closure, was with no notification to me or anyone else in the Nevada delegation. Do you commit to working to ensure?
Excuse me,
it's my time.
Fine.
Don't speak over me while I'm asking you questions. I don't work for you. I work for 750,000 people in Nevada. Do you commit to working to ensure that all field offices are not only fully operational, but also better staffed, more efficient, and equipped to meet the growing needs of the public? Yes or no?
I commit to they will be working excellently
Yes
to
or
serve
no? It's a
the
very
public.
simple question, sir.
I don't know if we need more staff in any of them.
I said better staffed, more efficient, and equipped.
Yes.
In April, I led my colleagues on this committee in introducing a resolution of inquiry demanding answers about DOJ's fueled plans to shut down field offices, slash staff, and gut customer service. One such DOJ-driven policy would have eliminated the option for retirees and survivors to apply for benefits or update their direct deposit information over the phone. While SSA eventually reversed course, thanks to public outcry, beneficiaries still can't make direct deposit changes by phone. So, Commissioner, as a self-described fundamental DOJ person, do you truly believe that policies forcing nearly 1 million hours of unnecessary travel on beneficiaries are efficient? Yes or no?
I would think that would be a no.
Thank you. Finally, I am still waiting on an answer about the breach of information that affects constituents and their information, and whether that personal information, medical information, disability information by DOJ is any way being used for purposes other than they are intended. So I will look forward to having your office work with my office, and I ask for your commitment today to receive a response to that inquiry.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. And now recognize Mr. Bean from Florida. for
Mr.
5
Chairman,
minutes.
thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. A very good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, Ways and Means. And Commissioner Bisignano, welcome. We're glad to have you here. Nobody likes to wait. I'm one of the worst waiters there is. I think when my family and I go out to dinner, we always play the game of how long, what number is it they'll tell us, the hostess will tell us for a table how long, and if it's over or under. Mine is 7 minutes. If it's over 7 minutes, my kids know we're going to go somewhere else. They say, Dad, stay, but everybody has a different number. But let me tell you what you did on wait times, Commissioner, because I have your report card of what you have done under your leadership. Under Biden's leadership, the work from home program, I think it was a disaster because the wait time on the 1-800 number, based on data that I have from November of 23, it was a 42-minute wait. But when you've come and made people come back to work at SSA and answer the phone quickly, it's dropped to 16.7. That's data from just 2 months ago in April of 25. Tell us, what have you done to do that, the success of that, and what do you plan to take it further?
Well, you know, in this year's plan, it's to get to 12 minutes. I think it's, you know, one is we got to start the day with everybody on the phone. And what I learned is that that wasn't necessarily how we started the day within a time zone. So I think we got to start the day at 8 o'clock on the phone with everybody, and that makes a change. Obviously, that wasn't how the work requirements were. So, you know, sometimes the answers are not technology. They're simpler, but I think we also are continuing to drive a better technological experience. You know, even on those when we have a longer wait time, and one of the reasons we took wait time off the website was because I thought it discouraged people from calling, because many times I know in your personal life you may make a call and they tell you wait time's 5 minutes, but we'll call you back, or wait time's 30 minutes, but we'll call you back. So we do 75% callbacks.
Very good.
And so if you show that you got an hour and a half wait time, well, people are going to be discouraged to not call.
Bean would be out if it said, 90 minutes, but I think people appreciate the call time. There's confusion over field offices. You didn't get to finish your thought on field offices. I want to give you a few, just a little bit of time to clear that up. It sounds like you're putting the resources where the people are and where it's busy. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Clear the record.
Yes. I mean, our objective is to serve people well across every channel. And obviously, 127,000 people a day come to field offices. And meanwhile, we have, 1.2 million transactions done a day on the web. But we are going to staff field offices to get the job done, and we're not closing field offices. There's nothing in my office about closing a field office right now.
Thank you very much. There's been so much confusion. Did Elon Musk come in and steal people's Social Security numbers? We hear it over and over again. Is that true, Commissioner?
I don't know of anything of the sort.
Is DOGE or people that come in to work on efficiency to make to make Social Security more efficient, are they stealing everybody's personal information?
No, sir, and I'm driving the efficiency agenda, and these are engineers helping anybody that's around.
Thank you. You mentioned taking the 150-year-olds off the system. I don't think DOGE ever said, or at least what I've heard them say, is that they were getting checks. It's just that they were on the system. And as you said, it leaves the door open, and it leaves everybody suspect. Is the data accurate? What are we doing to correct the system and make the system more accurate?
Well, I mean, data integrity is job one. And we've run a lot of different programs. We have a lot better ways to learn of death than we did years and years ago. And data exchanges are kind of mandatory. And then we do a lot of data analysis with outside agencies.
Commissioner, you could be running any Fortune 500 company right now. Thank you for your service in righting this ship, and we appreciate you very much. Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And now I recognize Mr. Evans from Pennsylvania for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Ranking Member. We owe the American people a promise of their earned income benefit. Commissioner, as you share this responsibility, I want to remind you about the Americans who are relying on Social Security. One Philadelphian worked as a housekeeper or 3 different hotels and 1 university to earn the Social Security disability insurance that she has now come to rely on. Without Social Security, she would be homeless at 57 years. Another constituent of mine's worked on her whole life as a teacher. She was diligent in saving money, but she also paid into Social Security. Another was her husband died. She needed Social Security more than ever. This would know that since Trump returned, I'm hearing about many constituents just like this. Here's one major example. Trump brought back the practice of taxing people entire Social Security payment in cases where the SSA overpaid them by no fault of their own. This practice forced one of my constituents to go over 6 months without receiving any of these Social Security practices. Even now, 50% is one way too much to take for another person's survival. With 3 of my colleagues, I introduced a bill to protect beneficiaries by limiting the recovery rate to 10% of their monthly Social Security payment. Commissioner, Seniors are living in fear because of this unpredictability and damaging action taken against Social Security. I'm proud to speak on their behalf today. I will continue to defend Social Security. They earned it. So I want to thank you for coming. But remember, they earned it. It's the only income that they have. So we should not take it lightly. So I recommend, Commissioner, that you understand that they earned it. I yield back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Now I recognize Mr. Miller from Ohio for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I really appreciate it. Thank you for holding this important hearing as we work to strengthening the integrity of Social Security programs that provide essential benefits to Americans that have earned over the course of their working careers, as well build opportunities for many more challenged within our societies. The first Social Security payment was paid to an Ohioan 90 years ago. I am heartened to hear that the Social Security Administration has implemented many of the administration initiatives to improve efficiency, reduce federal bureaucracy, and ensure that the Social Security is strong for generations to come, including someone like myself who is only 36 years of age. Through your recent fiscal year 2026 President's budget request of $14.793 billion, it is indicated that the Social Security Administration will focus on delivering timely, effective services. As you noted in the budget request, the public deserves the highest level of customer service from their government, especially from our agency, which interacts with customers more than 500 million times through field office visits, calls, and online services annually. And thank you for saying that. Like many of my constituents, I remain concerned about the financial strength of Social Security program and its long-term survival. On June 18th, the Board of Trustees of the Federal Old Age and Survivors Insurance Trust Fund, including the Secretaries of Labor, Health and Human Services, the Treasury, and the Commissioner of Social Security, notified Congress that without action to address the imbalance between Social Security program revenues and benefits, that fund will fall below 20% of annual cost by December 31st of 2034. Given this, it is vitally important that work is done to improve the efficiency and the integrity of the Social Security program. We also need to continue to protect the hard-earned dollars Americans earn through a lifetime of work. As an example, the Credit for Caring Act, sponsored by my Ohio colleague, Rep. Mike Carey, assists in keeping individuals in the workplace when able. AARP Ohio data shows that when someone earning leaves the workforce, there is a substantial loss, not only to the individual, but the entire Social Security system is completely weakened. One of the key issues I'd like to focus on today is the opportunities under Social Security, such as return to work incentives, designed to encourage individuals to return to work when able, earn wages, and lessen need for government benefits while building self-esteem and independence. The Social Security Administration Ticket to Work program allows eligibility, disability insurance, and Social Security income beneficiaries to earn voluntarily obtain employment services, vocational rehabilitation services, or other support services to achieve specified work goals. Sir, how does Social Security's Ticket to Work program support those with disabilities move toward financial independence and connect them with the services and support they need to succeed within the workforce?
I think ultimately, and I've heard it time and time again, and we're going to continue to work hard and work with your office if you like. The idea of getting people back in the workforce is the best thing we could do for them. I think we also have situations where, people today, the job, I've heard so many times about the job file. And so we're going to work hard on legislature with you guys to change those things. And I think I like to spend some time with you on the Ticket to Work program because I think we could get a better outcome than we're getting there also.
I do as well, and I look forward to working with you and your team, and hopefully both sides of the aisle will interact, but definitely us for sure. How may this effort be a good tool, sir, for the people who are currently receiving Social Security disability benefits, but who want to improve their earning potential, as it offers qualified people with disabilities access to meaningful employment with the assistance of authorized employment service providers? or of nearly of the 12.3 million eligible beneficiaries in 23, only 311,000, or just 2.5%, were participating in Ticket to Work. Please let us know what tools the Social Security Administration may need from Congress to help make this program even more successful.
I'll come back to you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And by the way, I look forward to working with you and working with your team and any questions that we can work together in education. I very much forward looking to keep this program around, even for someone like myself who's just 36. Thank you very much, Mr.
We'll do
Chairman.
that.
I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Ms. Sewell from Alabama for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, today I want to sound the alarm and to stand in defense of the more than 300 million Americans who depend upon Social Security, especially the 164,000 recipients in my Alabama district for whom Social Security is not just a safety net, but it is a promise made to hardworking men and women who paid into a system their entire lives, a promise that under the Trump administration is being greatly undermined, a promise that is not an entitlement, but as my colleague from Pennsylvania said, is an earned benefit. The truth is that the Trump administration is fundamentally changing the way Social Security delivers customer service, and not for the better. These changes are not modernizing. They are marginalizing certain Social Security beneficiaries. They are marginalized those in rural and low income and elderly that lack broadband. They marginalize those that are hearing impaired with other disabilities that limit their ability to maneuver automated systems. Instead of investing in hardworking people who answer our seniors' questions and process the disability claims and assist those facing life's toughest challenges, the Trump administration is cutting Social Security staff. They are replacing human service with automated systems and digital solutions, ignoring the fact that millions of Americans lack internet, don't own a smartphone, or simply do not care to be guided through an automated process, but rather would like to speak to a human being. In the name of efficiency, they are gutting the very thing that makes Social Security work, its accessibility and its humanity. Let me give you a few examples of what this means in real life. In rural Alabama, a 72-year-old widow who lost her husband suddenly was told to go online to complete survivor benefit paperwork, but she doesn't own a computer. The nearest Social Security field office, that's an hour and a half away, and only open part-time. In Birmingham, Alabama, a disabled veteran trying to appeal a denied claim sat on hold for over 90 minutes, only to be told that they can use an online portal that kept crashing. His benefits, his livelihoods, was delayed for months. In Black and brown communities where generational poverty and digital exclusion remain high, seniors are now expected to navigate impersonable and inaccessible systems with little or no support. These are not only cruel, but they are having a disproportionate impact on certain communities. So let's be clear, these are not isolated incidents. They are the direct result of policy choices. The Trump administration has sought to turn the Social Security Administration into a self-service kiosk, stripping away the human infrastructure that millions rely on. Mr. Commissioner, President Trump in his 2026 budget would actually cut 1 in 8 employees from Social Security, but also give $600 million towards technology. Just a yes and no answer. Do you plan, as the administrator, to contract out technology development to Elon Musk or companies that you or other Trump officials have worked in or own stock in? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Have you yourself ever called the 1-800 number for Social Security Administration? Yes or no?
Yes.
So with so much emphasis on technology, my next question is, has the agency studied the digital divide, including lack of broadband access, computer literacy, or language barriers among Social Security beneficiaries before you implemented these changes that you now have? Yes or no?
What
Did
we
you
have
study
is,
the digital
what we have
divide?
is all the field offices that we ever had, ma'am.
I understand that. What I'm really asking is whether or not there was any forethought given to the changes that we're having. Because if you really had an opportunity to look at the impact of technology, you'll see that it is not a cure-all. Rather, there's so many people where the digital divide is real, and I represent a large sum of them. Listen, I want to just say that my constituents want transparency and accountability. They deserve it. Social Security was never meant to be a profit-driven, tech-first, or detached from people service. It was built on the principle that we care for one another, that when you work hard and you earn a living, and that part of that living is going to your Social Security benefit for when you retire, that it's there when you need it. With that, I yield back the balance of my time.
Thank you. Pursuant to committee practice, we'll now move to 2-to-1 questioning, and I recognize Mr. Moran from Texas for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner Bisignano, I want to just follow up with what Ms. Sewell just said. She was giving an example about somebody having to drive an hour and a half to a physical facility. That's not because of something that you've done, is it?
No, we have 1,200 field offices, and we had 1,200 field offices. We have 25,000 employees serving the American population from those field offices, and we have over 4,000 people on the phones with a cadre of backup people to be able to service the phones.
That's right. I think you've made that point abundantly clear today, and I appreciate that because I think that that clarity and dispelling of the rumor about these physical offices getting closed and people having to drive more hours to get somewhere to get in-person services, that's simply not a result of anything you've done. In fact, you're trying to make it easier, and the 90-minute wait time on the telephone that she may have been referencing here a second ago, that's the exact same thing that you're trying to fix and have been fixing since you came into office. Isn't that true?
Yes, sir.
Commissioner, I represent the 1st District of Texas, and that's a northeast Texas part of Texas. It's 17 counties large, about as big as the state of New Jersey. It is as rural as the rest of rural America, and I'm proud to represent rural East Texans. In my East Texas district, there's about 175,000 Social Security beneficiaries, 21,000 of which receive SSI payments. And the delivery is crucial just as crucial to them as to anywhere else in rural America. And you said clearly, and I'm going to quote you, you said, we will meet beneficiaries where they want to be met. And when you talked about this omni-channel way that you're going to do it, both in person and then also online and by telephone, I thought that was just exactly what the Social Security Administration needed. With 30 years of experience in the private sector, tell us a little bit more about how you plan to bring your private sector experience to improving the customer experience in this governmental setting and making it more efficient for those that need services from the Social Security Administration.
Well, I think the last organization I ran, we made 850 million payments a day and had a, an error rate 5 decimal points out. That was through technology to help our employees do their job better. I think, you hear me talk about this agency. This agency hasn't fared well. I'm the 5th commissioner in 5 months, multiple commissioners over the past years. And the employees took the brunt of it, in my mind, because, for 3 years straight, they had the lowest ranking in the 18 large agencies, and I think having a motivated workforce is part of the job. That's not about technology; it's about engagement of leadership. I conduct meetings with next level downs every week to talk about how we're going to run the place different. I think we got a highly motivated crowd that are going to deliver the goods, and that means more technology, not to make the people go away if that's an output product. Maybe, but we can't, we got to have our field offices and serve the people. I think the real issue is, bringing technology to make the jobs better so we can perform better and the American public is the big winner through it. And we will eliminate fraud, waste, and abuse through that technology too. Yes, that's true.
And Administrator, when you talk about bringing new tools and technology, I can only imagine that the esprit de corps within the base of the folks that work for you is going to go up. And as a result, the value that they're going to be able to bring to the taxpayer and the benefits they're going to be able to bring to the taxpayer is going to go up because they're going to be motivated to do a better job because they have the tools and technologies in place. Have you seen that morale go up since you've taken over?
I think I see it. I think I've seen it. And I've had town hall with the whole org. I've met with the second level a whole bunch. I think people believe they could win. We want to be a winning team, and a winning team is servicing the American public in a way that they like the way they're served.
And I think there's no better place to start in building a winning team than bringing a winning coach that has done this before over and over again, somebody that understands how to do customer service online, in person, over the telephones, and then somebody that's done this payment processing over and over and over again. You've built successful operations in a number of companies in the private sector. We're pleased that you've decided to join the administration and to do that in the governmental sector. We wish you the best, and we offer our support in that role. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I now recognize Mr. Moore from Utah for 5 minutes.
Thank you to the chairman and the ranking member and the ranking member for this committee hearing today. Commissioner Bisignano, I've heard my Republican colleagues say that you're a breath of fresh air. I've heard my Democrat colleagues say you're a man of integrity. Having had the chance to meet with you privately, now in a hearing and hearing much of the discussion today, I just echo those sentiments. I'm very excited that you're willing to kind of step out of your private sector role and come and try to bring some expertise to this. The way you talk about it in person to me about this being something you wanted to be a part of the mission, something that you value, and this is a bit of a calling for you is truly neat and something that I think truly the founders intended for people to come and bring some level of expertise and knowledge. And I am excited to work with you and your team as we navigate this. I represent Utah's 1st District, and it's got a large IRS processing facility. There's a commonality, I think, between the work that they do and the work that you're leading with respect to improving the technology, improving the wait times, improving the customer service capability. I'm thrilled to see some of that today. And I'm going to ask a couple questions on digitization and cybersecurity, and just to get your quick thoughts on this. In ongoing efforts to modernize Social Security services, it's worth flagging that half of all medical records received by state disability determination services arrive via mail or fax. I'm interested if you think that claims could proceed in a timelier manner if applicants' digital medical records were retrieved and analyzed, and maybe how is the Social Security Administration evaluating internal policy choices that may be impeding this digital transition?
Well, I think, first place, as you all know, it all starts locally at the DDS. And we're really taking a look at DDS in total. And, $2 billion is allocated to DDS. There's, we talk about our head count of 50,000, but there's 12,200 DDS that we're funding. And streamlining that process in a manner where we also can, treat it, making those, automated better in a way to protect the data is where it really starts, I think. And, I think I'd like to spend a little time with you and talk about the strategy to employ there, because you would have a good understanding whether you believe at the state level it can subscribe to it, because I think we got to do it at the DDS level and technically do it in a really modernized fashion. And ultimately, it's about protecting data. So, I think the more we can protect that data locally, the better served we'll be globally on it, or nationally in this case. That makes sense, sir?
Absolutely. Thank you. The Department of Homeland Security recently issued a bulletin on of a heightened threat environment in the United States, particularly related to cyber attacks after the escalation and potential of Middle East conflict. I know that some of this might be better discussed offline, but happy to follow up with you on that. Is the Social Security Administration equipped to handle sophisticated attacks from foreign adversaries? What improvements are needed to protect against these kind of attacks? How can we help? And can we work together on this?
Yeah, I think our cyber profile is pretty strong. I think it's one of the strengths of the agency. You know, the agency's always been highly protective of data and information and prepared for cyber attacks. I've always run a program that we're going to think about some more, which I would say the basic premise of our program, and I think we have it here, which is protect the perimeter but surveil the interior, because it's sometimes in the interior where that threat comes from. But I feel that we're a cyber defense profile is pretty strong right now. And I think it was a strength of the department, and it is a strength of the department.
Thank you, sir. I've had conversations with you similar to this on the more acute or micro issues that are directly affecting the day-to-day, but we've also discussed the more macro issues and solvency and things like that of the long-term security of this program. I just appreciate your level-headedness about this and your willingness to be forthright and engage in this and be a problem solver in something that matters enormously to the entire country. I obviously represent Utah, which we have a couple years of lower, the youngest state in the nation, so we have a little less pressure off of us. I want to be a part of solving some of these long-term issues and look forward to some other thoughts that you've had on that. Appreciate it, and I yield back.
Thank you.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Thompson from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Commissioner, thank you for being with us today. And I haven't met you, but I'll stipulate my colleagues are correct in their assessment that you're a good guy.
Oh, you're kind.
Before I get to my question, I just want to make a couple things perfectly clear. First, Social Security is not a handout. It's a promise. It's a contract between our government and the American people. And for 90 years, hardworking Americans have contributed portions of every one of their paychecks, trusting that in return, they'll have some financial security when they retire, when a spouse dies, or if they become disabled. We know firsthand how vital this program is, not only to our seniors, but even to Main Street in every district across the country. In my district, there's 153,000 people that rely on Social Security. That's hundreds of millions of dollars a month that comes into my rural district. And that's spent throughout the community, and that multiplies throughout the community. It's an important economic factor in our area. So veterans, teachers, farmers, nurses, mechanics, they've earned these benefits from a lifetime of work and a lifetime of service, and they deserve to retire with dignity. Last week, when we were on our district work period, I held 3 town hall meetings just on Social Security throughout my district. And at every stop, my constituents made it clear that they're terrified that this administration will weaken Social Security. And frankly, Mr. Commissioner, this fear is not unfounded. When people in this administration or people representing this administration call Social Security a Ponzi scheme, or when my Republican colleagues suggest that it's going bankrupt and propose privatization, it sends a message to every hardworking American that the promises made to them may be broken. So let me say plainly, Social Security is not going bankrupt. But our moral compass might be if we turn our back on the people who built our great country. My Republican colleagues want to have a real conversation about solvency or about strengthening Social Security. Let's have it. I'm all in, but we need to do it honestly with facts and solutions, not with fear-mongering. A couple of questions, Mr. Commissioner. There was some discussion. I wasn't quite clear on this closing offices. Is it accurate that we went from 10 to 4 regional offices?
What's accurate is the following. There were 10 regional executives, and we went to 4 regional executives.
From 10.
From 10. We did not shut offices, if you follow my, if I was articulating it.
So there's still 10 regional offices?
There's no, if I was articulating it, I wasn't here for the articulation. What I would have said is we streamlined management of our regions because we no longer actually operate in regions, right? If you go over time, there was a...
I'm not clear. Are there still 10 regional offices?
There still are physical regional offices.
10?
Yeah, although I'm trying to be very clear, we're not in other words, I will go down to the Atlanta regional office to visit it tomorrow.
Reclaiming my time. I don't mean to shut you off.
I'm sorry.
But I'm limited on how much time I have, and I have another question that I want to ask. But maybe you could forward to me in writing an explanation of this office closure, because it's become a little bit convoluted in the discussion. The other question that I have is the idea that reporting times, when people call your office, are they up, are they down, are they otherwise? There's an article here, and I'd like to ask unanimous consent to submit it to the record. It's titled "Social Security Stops Reporting Call Wait Times and Other Metrics." Are you deliberately hiding data from the American people?
Not at all.
So this article is not accurate?
This article says that we changed the metrics on the system to reveal the appropriate information to be fact-based about how we operate.
Are you reporting the call wait times?
We report the average ASA of wait times every day, right? And we report them. Now, what was taken down was what the longest wait time is to serve the public better, sir. Because in fact, if you call and there's a long wait time, we offer you the option to call you back.
Okay.
So
I'll put this in the record, and Mr. Chairman, I don't know about you, but in my district offices, the calls that we get suggest that it takes a lot longer to get through to Social Security.
Without execution so ordered, we'll enter that remark, and thank you for...
Thank you, Commissioner.
I now recognize Mr. Smucker for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hello, Commissioner Bisignano. Appreciate you being here. I want to just thank you for being willing to take on this role. I'm actually really excited to have you there as head of the Social Security Administration. I think you will bring to bear a lot of private sector experience, and I love what I'm hearing in regards to how you're approaching the job, because this is a massive bureaucracy that a lot of Americans rely on. My constituents, just as every other individual here has constituents who do. And it is one of the agencies that in my time in Congress, it's one of the top agencies that my constituents call about, where they're frustrated with the service, they're not getting the answers they need, they're waiting a long time on the phones. And so I have a lot of hope that you'll bring all of that great experience to bear, and we're going to see some real improvements, and I think we're already starting to see that. So, and I'm really grateful that you take your time and be willing to serve the country in that way, so thank you. As the Oversight Committee here, we want to be there with you to provide you with whatever you may need to ensure that you have the right tools to be able to do that effectively. And to that end, just maybe a few questions. I know you're new, but you've mentioned your commitment to improving payment accuracy. And as you look at the current processes, where do you see the greatest opportunities to prevent improper payments? And I know it can be both over and under, but there's too much, you pay them and find out later. How can we prevent that from happening before the payments go out? What opportunities do you see, and how can we be helpful?
Well, I think it's all at inception. If you look at where most of this occurs, it's at inception. It doesn't happen after somebody's had 10 years of payments. So, building a little intelligence there that does some other data checks, getting more outside information to bring in to get it right. I think there's an opportunity there. I think, when you look at the numbers, if you looked at, the amount of receivables we have because of our current error rate, maybe at the full year of 24, it was 24 billion. So I looked at, we make a big dent in that number going forward.
I know you're looking to improve customer service. You're also looking at efficiencies. I hear you've already found some significant savings. Could you speak to that already?
Well,
What
I
you've
think,
found so far?
I think first of all, what happened is the ability to have your workforce be where they need to be to do the work is really important. I think also the ability to have people in the morning to answer the phone. If we don't start off early answering the phone, we're not going to get it right. I think we have a lot of opportunity around technology. I think we have good assets. We got to make them easier to use, but that will all drive efficiency. And, I think the overpayment issue is a big deal for us, and we'll save a lot of money there, too.
Sure. Thank you. And then I want to get back to something my friend Mr. Thompson just said in regards to potential conversations around solvency. And I know we want to ensure that every American, we can make good on the promises that were made and make good on the promises made to people who've been paying into the system for all of their lives. So nobody's trying to scare anyone, but there is a math problem, and you just talked to the Social Security Commissioner, just came out recently within a report, and that date when we run out of money in the trust fund and the incoming funds would no longer be enough to pay the benefits for that year isn't too far in the future, 8 years from now, I think. And so I would welcome, Mr. Thompson had mentioned, we should have a real conversation about how we can ensure we can keep those promises. And I think it's time we do that. The longer we wait to have those conversations, the harder it will be to ensure that we can keep paying benefits to people who really need them. So I don't have much time left, but I don't know if you want to make a quick comment, but hope to work with you to ensure that we don't get to the point where we can't pay the benefits that people are owed.
I agree. I accepted this job understanding that I might be the last stop at the OK Corral. And I intend for, as I know the trustees do, and I think we've all been vocal that our intent is to have this problem solved.
Thank you.
And I believe the president's exactly in the same place.
Thank you. Now I call on Ms. Malliotakis from New York for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Commissioner, for being here. You hail from Brooklyn, so we're very proud of you and your achievements. And I think if you're hearing the common theme here today, it's really about customer service. How do we improve the customer experience for these senior citizens and disabled individuals who they've earned these benefits, and they need to have that accessibility. And so I, too, have experienced issues in my office where we've worked with seniors who have been unable to access through the phone, or they go in person, they're told that they can't just walk in, they need an appointment. We need to address that issue so it's more user-friendly. We've had issues, and this was going back to the Biden administration, and certainly this has now fallen on your lap, but they were waiting as long as 2 hours. Oftentimes they'd wait a long time, then get disconnected. I'm glad that you've implemented the callback feature, but still we need to address, I think, the staffing levels as it relates to customer service, so that way when they call, they actually get somebody on the phone. So I just want to know, if you could talk a little bit about the staffing levels today versus what they were a year ago. Where do you see them going? And as it relates specifically to customer service, because I see that you're streamlining and it seems that you're shifting thousands of employees to direct service.
The reality is we have more people on the phones and more people in the field offices now than we did in January. And that's why we're able to say we're getting more done, thousands a day, tens of thousands a day, more transactions done, and why the disability number has come down to below 1 million, and that will continue to drop on disability claims because we've moved more administrative functions out. This issue about field offices, we're not getting rid of field offices. What we did was send more people to them. This issue about regional offices, we streamline management so we can also think about it, and we're bringing in a phone system that allows us to cover the country through it, not regionally. So I look forward to being here next year when we're having a completely different conversation. And I would say, in your case, I can't wait to come to your area and go see a field office with you.
Well, I have the perfect one for you to visit because one is less responsive than the other two.
Okay, we'll
and
go
so
together.
We would love to do a surprise visit with you, so we look forward to that. And I thank you, and I'm glad I gave you the time to actually answer the question, unlike some of my colleagues who want to be critical, but then not give you the opportunity to explain. Because when you talk about staffing reductions, you're actually shifting more staff to where it needs to be, which is the customer service, where we're waiting hours under the Biden administration for someone to pick a call. You're improving that, and I appreciate it, but I still need to get the numbers. Look, the bottom line is no Social Security recipient should have to call a member of Congress to get them to intervene to get a benefit that they've earned and deserve. And I look forward
My
to...
objective is to have you get less phone calls.
Well, and I look forward to working, and look, we're happy to take the constituent work. That's not the issue. The issue is that they shouldn't have to call us to intervene, and I appreciate your dedication to that and look forward to working on it. And also, I just want to point out that the Republicans on this committee have worked very diligently to reduce the taxes that our seniors are going to pay on their Social Security. That is significant, and let it be clear that not one Democrat actually supported that, but we're going to be the ones who actually allow our seniors to keep more of their money in their pockets, money, again, that they were entitled to, they deserve, they've earned, and the government should not be taxing them again on it. And I do look forward to working with you to increase the threshold that is exempt from taxation. It's been $25,000 income for individuals, $32,000 for married seniors. That has not changed in 4 decades, nearly my entire lifetime. That has been the case. And we need to fix that to increase those thresholds so more of Social Security income is exempt. And yes, to Mr. Larson's point, we do need to find a way to pay for it. And I look forward to working in a bipartisan manner to do that. And I think there are some solutions that we've discussed that I think could be palatable for everyone and do the right thing on behalf of our senior citizens. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your commitment. Let's try to get these wait times down.
Lady yield.
I got to go.
Thank you. Thank you. Before I recognize the gentlelady from Virgin Islands, I want to inform members that votes have been called on the House floor, and I intend to call a recess after Ms. Plaskett's 5 minutes of questions and to call the committee back to order immediately following the vote series. I now recognize the gentlelady from Virgin Islands for 5 minutes.
And Mr. Estes, this is why you're one of my best friends, that you're letting me go before the votes are called and I don't have to come back after recess. I just appreciate that so much.
I'm sure you'd want to come back for all.
Just to be with you, of course. But Commissioner, I just want you to know I'm also from Brooklyn, so I have a great affinity for you. Grew up in Bushwick, went to school in downtown Brooklyn, so I completely go Mets, I will have to say, to the people who are Yankees fans. One of the things that I think in your exchange I thought was very interesting was that, in talking with the staff, understanding that yes, people who were removed from those positions, a lot of them did go to customer service, I understand. Do you know, but my understanding is, and tell me if I'm incorrect, that the customer service area is actually more at a higher pay than they were in their previous positions? And then is there a training process that they have to go through to be able to be in that customer service area, and how long is that?
Yeah, just to clarify, is your question, is it a higher paying job that they went into?
Yeah.
No.
It's not? So
No.
it's a parallel, a vertical then?
Maybe in some cases it even wasn't even
I mean
that.
horizontal.
But they wanted to stay in the agency and recognize that there was opportunity for the long term
Okay,
for them.
okay. Long-term meaning, what do you?
In the organization to still have opportunity to grow over time.
Okay, and then, do you know approximately how many people were, what percentage of people that were removed from the other positions opted to take that customer service position job?
You know, I'd put it at, you know, call it between hundreds and 1,000.
Okay, and what percentage is that of people that were removed overall, or let go, or took the early retirement?
Yeah, it was all, you know, I think if you think about the number of 59 to 52, which is kind of the number which gets you to 7,000, I think maybe 300 were let go and 6,700, these are approximates, ma'am, 6,700 accepted the voluntary retirement or opted into a voluntary retirement plan.
6,700 opted into a voluntary
Approximately.
retirement, and approximately how many then went, it was how many went to the customer service, and is that from
That really has nothing to do with these two sets of numbers that I was talking to you about. That was another group that we redeployed from regional offices and from other staff jobs to give them actual operating jobs to help serve the public.
Okay, this is not part of the 6,700?
No, ma'am.
Okay. One of the things I concern myself with, and as like all other members, is their own constituency. And in the Virgin Islands, we have about over 20% of our population are Social Security beneficiaries, where, just so everyone knows, one of the blue areas around the world where we have people living a long time. People live a long time in the Virgin Islands, which is a blessing. But we also have, of course, a lot of Social Security recipients. We, of course, can't drive to Social Security offices if those offices are closed. And we do have connectivity issues in an island area. Have you thought about ways in which to mitigate that, or how are we hoping if offices are closed or a regional office is closed?
And have we closed any offices in the Virgin Islands?
There's discussion of, yes, the offices being
There's
closed.
no discussion with me about that, ma'am.
Okay, so I can count on you then that the office will still be there?
I think so, and what I would have said to the other member is nothing will ever happen without you knowing it within your jurisdiction. That will never happen. You will not get surprised ahead of time, and I'd say that to every member of Congress and Senate.
Thank you. One of the other areas that, of course, is within the purview of Congress, and I'm hoping to get the support of other members of Congress in this. I know that President Biden's bill talked about this when it passed the House, was SSI, which I know is given throughout the country, but as you are probably aware, people in the Virgin Islands, as well as Puerto Rico and any of the territories, do not receive that. Can we work with you on ways in which those individuals who are most needy might be able to receive that?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I yield back.
I just want to tell you that I had adopted the Bushwick Leaders High School and worked closely with the principal in bringing technology to that high school.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. As announced, the committee stands at recess until immediately following the vote series.
How are you, sir?
Call the committee back to order. We'll continue with our questioning and a 5-minute conversation. So now I'd like to recognize Mr. Gomez from California for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman. I was looking at Secretary Bisignano. I've been looking at your resume. It's impressive. Executive at Citigroup, CEO at JP Morgan, CEO at First Data Corporation, and most recently, CEO of Fiserv. Why do you think you were selected for those jobs? Can't your mic?
Hey.
I think your mic's still off.
There we go.
Oh, there we
Sorry.
go.
I'm sorry.
No worries, no worries.
I think I have a history in payment processing for the largest organizations and in technology and also in serving every American household as I did in my last job. So I think I'm pretty qualified for the things we do to deliver
And you had
results.
some experience in finance, correct?
I have some experience in finance.
Yeah. And the reason why is that there is a lack of trust among the American people and the fact that you were selected, but also with this administration's commitment to Social Security in general. And I want to just kind of see if it was true that you had to Google the job description and you said, quote, "What the heck's the Commissioner of Social Security?" True or false?
What I said was that when I got a phone call to come see the president for the job.
Yeah. Well, just true or false? Did you like really not know what the Commissioner of Social Security was or is the responsibility?
I don't think everybody knows what the Commissioner of Social Security's job is.
So I take it as you didn't know what the job was.
I looked up the org structure. I looked
And the
up
reason why I'm
who the
asking that,
incumbent was.
I think it's very kind of, listen, you're good at filibustering. You speak very slow, but that makes a good way of delaying the questions, but I'm going to move forward. So you really didn't know what the job was, so you agreed to do it, and then there were some other quotes. It says, "I'm fundamentally a Doge person." True or false? Are you still a Doge person?
I've been working on efficiency and quality in organizations my whole life.
Do you stand by "I'm fundamentally a Doge person," that quote of yours?
I'm here to make the place more efficient,
So I-
deliver higher quality,
So I take it that
eliminate
you're-
fraud,
I
waste,
reclaim
and
my time and
abuse.
reclaim my time. So let me go through some of the quotes from this administration, right? You said I'm fundamentally a Doge person, and Doge was slated to cut $1 to $2 trillion off the federal government, the FAT. It hasn't found anything short of that amount. You had Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. He basically said, let's say Social Security didn't send out their checks this month. My mother-in-law, who's 94, she wouldn't call and complain, right? Another example of somebody being out of touch. Senator Ron Wyden, he's not in the administration, but he's a leading senator on the Republican side. It's a legal Ponzi scheme. Elon Musk said something similar. So there's a reason why people don't trust this administration when it comes to protecting Social Security, because of those kind of comments. And that's one of the things I kind of want to focus on is that I don't think that this cabinet of individuals, including yourself, really cares about what happens to that program, because it's not like you believe that it's not worthy of defending. And that is something that I find that insulting, because there's tons of people that rely on Social Security. That one missed payment, it brings down, like, then all of a sudden they hit a
My father was
financial
an orphan
calamity.
at 37.
And we also have a situation where we know that this program, if a child loses their parent, that they're going to rely on
I just told you
this.
my father was an orphan in 37.
So I understand that your administration, the administration you're part of, doesn't care about working people, but it's
You're dead
but
wrong.
you have to build that trust
dead
again.
wrong.
And when we give you a chance to basically take a different track, to disown these comments, you won't do that. And that's what I think people are concerned about. They're concerned that you're not really there to protect their retirement or their futures. With that, I yield back.
Now recognize Ms. Miller from West Virginia for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Estes. And thank you, Mr. Bisignano, for being here. And thank you for caring enough about the United States and the condition that many of our places are in disruption. I appreciate your expertise and why you have volunteered your time and your expertise to help us. Rural communities like those in my home state of West Virginia already face significant barriers when it comes to accessing federal services. Long travel distance, no internet, limited public transportation, and fewer in-person resources all make it harder for folks to get the help they need. That's why it's so important that agencies like the Social Security Administration maintain a strong presence and remain accessible in rural areas. The announcement of the Social Security permanent remote site office closure in Logan, West Virginia, Logan County, has sparked concern among my constituents. Understandable, in a state where 41% of the households in West Virginia rely on Social Security, folks want reassurance that they'll continue to receive support that they've earned. I know that the SSA puts a lot of thought into decisions like these. Could you kind of walk us through how the agency is making sure that people in Logan County and rural areas like it continue to receive the same level of service and support even after site closures?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with the Logan County site closure, ma'am, but I am familiar that, and that was, the only thing I understand that we actually closed were hearing offices that were conference rooms that weren't being utilized. But having said that, and I'm happy to come to West Virginia and go observe what we don't have and what we do have. But we have no intent to close field offices. And, you know, if we have a challenge in Logan County, we'll go figure it out with you.
Thank you. You would love the people that are there. They do talk
I'm positive
slowly.
of that.
Yes. Can you tell me, are there specific metrics or any kind of community feedback mechanisms that you would use to evaluate how these transitions are going to happen?
Yeah, well, I started off with a base case that field office is part of our strategy, and I'm not working on one element of closing a field office or have any of that in my office right now. I'm working harder on bringing technology to field offices so that people in there could serve the public better than they do. When you think about the information that people in our field offices have to get to, sometimes it's challenged, multiple systems, bringing that together in a way that they can serve the people faster. You know, I like to look at the wait times, not only on an average. Right now, people average 22 minutes in a field office. If we could cut that down for the people who come to our field offices, and we're going to look at everyone individually, we will. So I think field office is a large part of our strategy. Obviously, you know, you hear me talk about the internet and using it and keeping it up and making it available, but I recognize there's lots of people that don't use the internet. And there's some people who want to use the phone to communicate with us. Well, we will ensure we perform a lot better on the phone. And then lastly, you know, I think we have the field offices.
Well, I appreciate that. And once you're in the hills and hollers in West Virginia and the beauty and the water and the trees and the people, I think you'll understand why some of them still do need field offices and telephones, because we don't have the availability of the internet in all places. But I appreciate what you're trying to do.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Byer from Virginia for 5 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much, and ranking members Larson and Davis, thank you for hanging in there. Commissioner, number one, I read all 10 pages of your testimony carefully, and I agree with almost all of it. To the extent that you can fulfill that vision, I think we'll all be pretty happy. I also know that maybe we have too much constituent service work with Social Security, but our local office is terrific. They take really good care of us. Which sort of leads me to my concern. I have called the 800 number twice this spring, and after 5 minutes of voicemail hell, I finally got told it was going to be 120 minutes before anyone could talk to me. The first time I just hung up. So the notion that it was a 19-minute average last fiscal year, my experience doesn't match that, but I definitely want your vision of 12 minutes to be real. To that end, I know you have done a lot of leadership. J.P. Morgan, data, what was the data code? First Data, Fiserv, and that you were ranked one of the highest paid CEOs in Wall Street. But one of the things, and I'm quoting from Wikipedia, so sources.
I wouldn't believe everything I read.
Well, they talked about
Anywhere.
your dictatorial and old-fashioned management style that focused on profit rather than people. Well, obviously you're in a job that's not about profit, that's going to be totally about people. But
2 weeks ago, my Wikipedia page didn't say that, so anyway, I mean,
Okay, well,
I don't really pay attention to Wikipedia.
in any case, my hope, my concern is that when at my last visit to our Social Security office, there was an enormous amount of anxiety about it turning into a toxic work environment because of the 7,000 people, the 1 in 8 that had been fired. I'd love to know what your approach is going to be to make sure that your people that you're depending on to fulfill all these grand visions actually feels valued and approved and lifted up, treasured by you and this administration rather than seen as chaff and stuff to be gotten rid of.
I think tone at the top matters a lot. I have said in my oral testimony today that Social Security Administration for the past 3 years has had the lowest satisfaction in the Viewpoint study on 18 of the largest federal agencies. That needs to change. That will change by making the people's jobs better. It'll change by having their own self-esteem raised up in that we perform better for the American public. So one of my personal goals is to have the highest motivated workforce we have. And I think it's a darn good workforce, and I'm 100% behind them.
Well, I appreciate that you want to use that metric, because I think we really appreciate that annual survey. And coming up would be a great measure. To that end, though, one of the things I'm concerned about is that you've gotten rid of the public reporting of processing times, call wait times, and other performance metrics. You know, I know as a good leader, manager, you
That's
can't.
not accurate, sir.
Oh.
Processing times are up there. Average call wait times up there. We took down a number, and it was the number that you referred to, what the longest wait time is. And that's because 42% of the calls, if you call in and you don't need to talk to a rep, will in fact get answered through technology. And then the rest of the calls, when you got that, whatever you were told, 90 minutes or an hour,
120.
you had the option, or today you have the option to say, can you call me back in that time? And we call people back. So I think it's a discouraging number to tell somebody they have to wait 190 minutes or whatever it is, or 190 or 90, if in fact 42% of the time the system can answer the question, and the other time we're going to call them back if they call in. So if we put that number out, we're discouraging them from calling, where 42% of the time it'll get answered instantaneously, and the other time, within 21 seconds, we'll give them a time that we'll call them back. So that's why that was taken down. And I will tell you, as I said in my testimony, our statistics right now with less staffing are outperforming the statistics of January and significantly outperforming the statistics of last year. So those are the facts, sir.
Okay, I want that to be true, and I look forward to seeing all the statistics that you can possibly post. Please keep posting everything so that not only can we hold you accountable, but we can also be encouraged by the progress that you make.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. I now recognize Mr. Swazi from New York for 5 minutes.
Okay, Mr. Bisignano, congratulations to being confirmed. It's nice to meet you in person. We had talked to each other on the phone before you got confirmed. I want to congratulate you again. I looked at your biography in your testimony where you talked about the fact that your grandfather was born in Italy and served in World War I for America. My grandfather did the same thing. But my grandfather went back to Italy and married my grandmother and got her pregnant, and he came back over to work, and then my father immigrated to America with my grandmother years after that. But my father, like your father, served in World War II as well. In your opening, you talked about how your grandfather died with 15 children in 1937. Now, but they didn't have Social Security then, right? Or he was blind?
No, they didn't have it in 37. They had in 40, and my father would have been in the first eligible class, 39 actually. My father would have been in the first eligible class because he was an orphan.
So did he get Social Security, do you know, or your family get it?
My grandfather collected disability because he was blind, the one who fought in the Army. And, you know, I believe my father at some point got it also.
Yeah, well, listen, congratulations on your great American success story and on now achieving this very important position after being very successful in the private sector. And, you know, if we listen to the Republicans and the Democrats up here, everybody's concerned about Social Security. Everybody thinks it's the most important program in America. That's why the president said he doesn't want to cut Social Security. And everybody's concerned about the wait times. Everybody's, you know, I'm not saying you're only there for 2 months. It's not your fault that the wait times are bad, but, you know, many on the other side are saying, hey, great job, you're going to make it more efficient. A lot of people on this side are saying, hey, we're worried that they're trying to dismantle Social Security, so they'll say it's broken, and then they can argue that we have to privatize it. So why don't you just disabuse us of that notion, and why don't you tell us, you talked about 12 minutes. When do you want the 12 minutes to happen? Let's say you come back here next year. What will the wait time, what's your goal for the wait time for a year from now?
Well, I think the goal for this fiscal year is coming up 26 is 12 minutes. I don't think that's satisfactory. I think it's a place to start. It'll be an all-time number for 2 decades. You haven't hit 12 minutes. And the year prior, if you want to look at 24, you know, it was significantly more, right? So this, I would dispel.
You want to get down to 12 minutes by October 1st of this year, you're saying, or you're saying by?
No, I think that's the average. That'll be the average number for the year. It's highly possible.
Starting
in the fourth quarter of the year, it's 9 minutes, and it started out higher.
Yeah.
Right. But right now, I just kind of want to be clear. Right now, you know, if you look at, I think, April and then you look at May, that performed more like, you know, 16 minutes.
I'm sure you're making progress already. I just want to try and set some goals and try and see what you're thinking.
Well, what I'm thinking is that we should get to 3 minutes at some point during this tenure here.
So over the next, by 2028, you want to get to 3 minutes?
Yeah.
That would be great, fantastic. And so, just so you know, I'm not saying this to criticize you, you're new to the job, but just so you know, I talk to my caseworkers in my office. We have about 30 Social Security cases going at a time. And cases that, this is what they gave to me, cases that require a fix but are relatively simple, like address changes, are taking 32 days where they used to take 22 days. They're taking 32 days now, they used to take 22 days. Cases that are hard to fix, like correcting a mistake in a benefit amount, are taking 50 days, they used to take 39 days. Cases that are just informational or setting an appointment, which can be taken care of at the local field office, are taking the same amount of time. It's common for people to have to change their bank account info. That used to take about 2 weeks to go through. More recently, one starting in March took 29 days. People's applications to start benefits sometimes get stuck in processing. This is pure bureaucracy, stuck, not any kind of other problem. The average time to fix that last year was 20 days. In the last few months, it's averaged 37 days. People on disability often need their benefit amount recalculated because of an error or a change in circumstance. This is an expert sort of thing at the processing centers, and it takes a bit to go through. Usually in the past, it has taken 2 weeks to a month, although one case made it to 88 days. An open case now is at 112 days and counting. And they give me some more examples about logging in, and oh, this is a good one. Case example, 1 month wait to reset an online login amidst Social Security Administration's current push to move everyone to online services instead of phone or in person. Ian has been working with a constituent, I'm not gonna tell you her name, an 89-year-old woman who was having trouble with her online login and needed Social Security to reset it. He shared all the info with Social Security Administration on May 27th and hasn't had any progress since. So, you know, you talk about how most of the people are able to do online stuff. But when you get an 89-year-old lady, you're trying to get her to go online, but you're working with the staff to get them to sign in. We got to figure out how to get it so that they're responsive. Because all the members of Congress are dealing with this, not just me. And I know listen, you got the ability, you got the desire, you got the record of doing this. We thank you for your public service, and we wish you great success in serving the people of our country.
Thank you.
Thank
And I'm available for anything you ever need.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank you personally, Commissioner Bisignano, for appearing before us today, spending all your time and waiting out through our vote period. And I appreciate all of the members who participate throughout the hearing. And obviously, as you can tell from our comments, that there's a lot of interest on both Republicans and Democrats' parts of making sure that you're successful in your job, which makes it better for Americans through that process.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to speak with everybody from Kansas and Nebraska and everybody else on the stand and tell them it's Bisignano. Bisignano.
So please be advised the members have 2 weeks to submit written questions to be answered later in writing. These questions and your answers may be part of the formal hearing record. With that, the subcommittee stands adjourned.